Because it's a lose-lose proposition. If you're Irina Zarutska and you don't walk the other way, you get stabbed to death and you die. If you're somebody else and you walk on the subway and you stand near a black person or something, maybe it's fine. It's a lose-lose proposition. So no, I think that white people have been beaten into submission, that we're afraid to tell the truth about it. And the truth is that when you go into these major cities like New York or Chicago, I believe she was in North Carolina, there is a menace, which is young, black, adolescent men. They're extremely violent. And we have been told that we have to pretend like they are every other person. We have to be colorblind to that. And we're supposed to go and be in the midst of all this danger. And I think that at this point, it's gotten out of control. You look at the BLM movement, they said that the reason that black people are violent, or the reason there's crime, is because of police brutality, or redlining, or all these other things. They said we need to get rid of the police. We need to defund them. And a lot of cities did. A lot of cities like Chicago, for example, the police changed the rules of engagement. They don't chase them. It's not a felony if you steal a certain amount of merchandise. They won't chase them on foot. And now the city's totally up for grabs.
Never been a felony if you stole under a certain amount. So you see how he's making up shit, and he bought a redlining. That's the truth. That we cannot dispute the fact that redlining happened. Was the police out there beating people asses? That's true. We cannot overlook that. And for the people that are saying he's not the face of conservatism, why are y'all giving him a voice? Why are y'all letting him spill that? And he might not be the voice for your generation of it, but he's definitely recruiting and spewing this hate to a younger generation. He's 27 years old, and he act like he knows everything about the world when all he's doing is running the same playbook of BS and bullshit.
Perhaps. And now, whether you're in the Gold Coast or whether you're on the Mag Mile or you're in the worst neighborhoods in the city, you might get shot, you might get mugged, someone might run up on you. And I tell my followers, it is better to be perceived as racist or racist and walk the other way and maybe keep your life than to say, I'm a good anti-racist. I don't mind that this person's making me uncomfortable. Maybe he's looking a little froggy. I'm going to sit down because I'm a good person, and get stabbed, mugged, whatever. And by the way, this is a strategy. They call it the friendly stranger. There's a crew of them. They do this in Chicago. They stand outside bars, black people. They approach strangers. It's a robbery crew. And they pretend to be a friendly stranger, and then they mug them. And stupid white people say, oh, hi, yeah, nice to meet you. You know, they grin, they laugh, they put up with the nonsense, and then they get mugged, or worse. Sometimes they get executed. And so as a white person...
How do you feel about mass shootings at school?
I think they're bad.
Who do you think...
Hold on, man. Now I got to look this up because I don't believe this BS he's saying. And for y'all that... And he's not. What facts are he speaking? What facts are he speaking? That white people are racist. That's the fact that you're standing on. That white people are racist, because I don't see no facts that he's speaking. And ain't no cops I have plenty of family members that's cops, FBI agents, and it is nowhere that says that. And I live in fucking New York City. I'm from New York City, lived in New York City, served in the military, earned property. Where's this happening? Growing up in New York City, people don't go to certain areas, period. Like New York, people just don't go wandering around the city. You usually go to where you want to go, like point A to point B. So I don't see, he's right about certain amount of stuff. That's how it is in New York City. I'm also 22 years. You're 22 years old. I've been in the military for 22 years. What happens in New York City? Please explain it to me, because I live in New York. Well, I don't live in New York right now, but I have family in New York. My parents still live there. I be in New York down there every weekend. I'm always spending time. I got children up there. So tell me, where is people getting randomly attacked? Or we got white people, black people, and a lot of people with mental health issues running around the city doing something. But where are black people going out looking to attack white people? Where's that happening at? Everybody say people have the right to their own opinion until it's an opinion that offends you. Because if black people was to, how can I say, if we was to reciprocate some of this bullshit that they putting out there, which I disagree. I don't think we need to be doing all the fighting and going at each other. But that shit is just ridiculous and dumb. And we spilling shit that don't make sense and is not true. It is not true. He made up the statistic, talk about 1 out of 5 black men is committing murders. And we found out that that's not what happened. And what you mean he's not talking about crime statistics? He literally said 1 out of 5 black people are commit murder, and it came out that that's not true. Then we looked up the statistics when it said how many people, 55% of what is that? Over 55% of black people get arrested for murder, and 55% of that get exonerated for murder. Account for most exonerations. So what are you asking me, and I'm denying so that we could talk about that? Because am I denying that he's a racist? Absolutely not. He's letting us know for himself he's a racist. Am I denying that black people is just running around attacking white people? Yes, I'm fucking denying that, because that's not a true statement. Why? Like, if you want to talk about the community, right? So black people is just running around attacking white people. Like, we're going out looking for white people. That's what you're standing on? Is stealing a certain amount of stuff is not being a felony. That's what I'm responding. No, what I'm trying to say, you ever heard of petty larceny? It is a certain threshold you have to meet before they consider it a felony with some shit. You know what I mean? I don't fucking steal, so I wouldn't know. But I'm telling you, it is a certain threshold. It's always been a certain threshold to hit. If you steal a candy bar in some place, you're not going to get the same if you robbed a bank. That's what I'm saying. So them going back, they did not change no laws because of BLM. BLM was not even made by black people. We do know that, right? The people that ran BLM is not black people. And I'm not a part of BLM. And I never was a part of that shit. But what I'm trying to say is that's the go-to that they scream is BLM, 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 you know? Like, they never accounted for me. And these same people got all of this pride in their nationalism until it's time to go fight a war. When it's time to sign up for the armed forces, then everybody is fucking disqualified all of a sudden. Y'all get relationship advice for somebody that don't even like women. Make that make sense.
I think commits the vast majority of the mass shootings.
I'm sure it's white people.
Right. So how do you feel about that?
Brutality. The redlining or all these other things, they said we need to get rid of the police. We need to defund them. And a lot of cities did. A lot of cities like Chicago, for example, the police changed the rules of engagement. They don't chase them. It's not a felony if you steal a certain amount of merchandise. They won't chase them on foot. And now the city's totally up for grabs. And now whether you're in the Gold Coast or whether you're on the Mag Mile or you're in the worst neighborhoods in the city, you might get shot, you might get mugged, someone might run up on you. And I tell my followers, it is better to be perceived as racist or racist and walk the other way and maybe keep your life than to say, I'm a good anti-racist. I don't mind that this person's making me uncomfortable. Maybe he's looking a little froggy. I'm going to sit down because I'm a good person and get stabbed, mugged, whatever. And by the way, this is a strategy. They call it.
What's up with that? I thought these gas prices was going to go down. I wonder what happened to that. I thought we was going to get lower food bills, lower gas prices, and the only thing we got was higher racism. You know, higher racism. That's all they got. It was higher racism. Like, these people every day wake up and just talk shit about other people for no reason. People that ain't even bothering him. He don't even fucking live around black people. So how is he so alarmed by black people? He don't even live around them. But do not, the part that killed me is y'all never want to talk about the crimes that is prevalent in y'all communities, in his own community that he want to be a part of, because he's not even white. He's half white, half Mexican. But he never wants to talk about the crimes that's predominantly white. You don't want to talk about that.
Like a friendly stranger. There's a crew of them. They do this in Chicago. They stand outside bars, black people. They approach strangers. It's a robbery crew. And they pretend to be a friendly stranger. And then they mug them. And stupid white people say, oh, hi, yeah, nice to.
A broken is, what's that? Is you want to say a broken clock is right twice a day, right? But if you're spilling a lie is a lie. A lie is a lie. It don't matter if it's a broken clock or not. A lie is a lie. And guess what? He's not a clock. He's a person. And it's one thing to say, hey, this is an issue, and we're going to talk about that issue. But my thing is this, right? I mean, we had a thing growing up, they said, you can't buy groceries for somebody else's house and you got an empty refrigerator, right? Why are not talking about these child crimes that they have and the child porn that's out there? You get what I'm saying? And why y'all not addressing how white people unalive other white people at an 83% rate? Well, matter of fact, let's check that rate in the latest statistics so I don't do like him and just spill bullshit numbers. So, Little Mo, I have some questions for you.
Absolutely, Uncle Mo. Fire away with your questions whenever you're ready.
Okay, back on the case of Nick Fuentes, right? Me and the chat is going back and forth. First question is, right? Who kills white people the most in America?
Sure thing. So, statistically in the US, most crimes, including homicides, tend to be committed by people of the same race as the victim. That means the majority of white homicide victims are killed by white offenders. It's basically a pattern of what's called intra-racial crime, where people are more likely to be victims of those within their own racial ethnic group. So, in short, white people are most often killed by other white people.
In the last 5 years, what is the percentage of white people that was killed by other white? What is the percentage, the homicide percentage of white people dying, and what demographic caused it?
So, from the most recent solid data we have, like the FBI's 2019 report, about 81% of white homicide victims were killed by other white offenders. That's a pretty stable pattern. And while the exact percentage might shift slightly year by year, it generally shows that most homicides are interracial. So, yeah, that's the ballpark figure you're looking at.
So for you in the chat that said that was a lie, that's the cold hard numbers for you. That 89%, well 81% was committed by other white people, which every demographic is did it. Okay, so because we got non-believers in the chat that said it's not true. Where are you getting these statistics from, ChatGPT?
Absolutely, Uncle Mo. For anyone in the chat who wants the source, the numbers I mentioned come from the FBI's Uniform Crime Reporting data. This is one of the main official sources for crime statistics in the US, and it's publicly available. So, yeah, that's the hard data. 81% of white homicide victims are killed by other white offenders, and that's just how the numbers break down.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. If you need anything else for the chat or any other questions, just let me know.
All right, will do. What was my name? Oh, I got a question. Nick Fuentes has put out in his interview that it's a robbery crew going around Chicago of black males robbing white citizens. Can you find any records of that?
So here's what I could find. There was a case in early 2024 in Chicago where a group of people were actually staging armed robberies to help individuals apply for U visas, which are visas for crime victims. This involved a range of businesses around Chicago, but it wasn't exactly a scenario of a single crew just targeting white citizens. It was more about a fraudulent scheme for immigration purposes. So that's the May related story that came up.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
We're going to finish watching this interview. I'm pretty sure I'll be back to ask you some more questions so we can show facts to the non-believers.
Absolutely. Feel free to jump back in anytime you need more facts or want to set the record straight. I'm here for it. Enjoy the rest of the interview.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Anytime, Uncle Mo.
All right, let's get back to that because y'all got to hear from there, and you got the sources of where we're getting these numbers from.
To meet you, they grin, they laugh, they put up with the nonsense. And
should they avoid?
I think that white people do more antisocial violence. I think black people participate in more gang violence. I think that's the difference.
What's the difference to the victims?
There's no difference to the victim, but it's someone might run up on you. And I tell my followers, it is better to be perceived as racist or racist and walk the other way and maybe keep your life than to say, I'm a good anti-racist. I don't mind that this person's making me uncomfortable. Maybe he's looking a little froggy. I'm going to sit down because I'm a good person and get stabbed, mugged, whatever. And by the way, this is a strategy. They call it the friendly stranger. There's a crew of them. They do this in Chicago. They stand outside bars, black people, they approach strangers. It's a robbery crew, and they pretend to be a friendly stranger, and then they mug them. And stupid white people say, oh, hi, yeah, nice to meet you. They grin, they laugh, they put up with the nonsense, and then they get mugged, or worse. Sometimes they get executed. And so as a white person,
how do you feel about mass shootings at school?
I think they're bad.
Who do you think commits the vast majority of the mass shootings?
I'm sure it's white people.
Right. So how do you feel about that?
I think that white people do more antisocial violence. I think black people participate in more gang violence. I think that's the difference.
What's the difference to the victims?
There's no difference to the victim, but it's a different kind of crime, and it's a different proportion also. Do you know what percentage of white people are school shooters?
I know that the vast majority of mass shootings in schools in America this century were perpetrated by young white men. And I'm
what proportion?
I'm curious.
Right,
I'm
like
curious,
91%.
I'm curious whether your advice would be to people who have kids in
Wait,
these
is my
schools.
mic working?
What proportion? Should they avoid?
Let's answer it for him because he said he don't know if his mic is working. So let's answer it because I'm pretty sure it's at least 80% is. How you doing, Little Mo? It's me again. I got a question. Nick Fuentes want to know what proportion of school shootings in the USA was committed by white people.
So, in general, a significant portion of school shootings in the U.S. have indeed been committed by white perpetrators. Estimates from studies of mass shootings suggest that roughly around half of such incidents have involved white shooters, though exact numbers can vary a bit depending on the data set. It's a complex issue, and the demographics can shift depending on how you define and track school shootings, but that's the general picture.
Can you give me a percentage of who it was in the last 20 years? Can you give me a percentage by demographic of each demographic in the U.S. that committed mass shootings at schools or on school grounds?
Over the last 20 years or so, studies show that the vast majority of school shooters have been male, about 95% or more. In terms of race, a significant portion of the mass indiscriminate school shootings have been committed by white individuals. On the other hand, shooters of other races have tended to be involved more in targeted incidents tied to personal disputes. So, roughly speaking, a substantial percentage of mass school shootings have had white perpetrators, but of course, it's a complex picture overall.
Okay, in school shootings that somebody died or 4 more people was gravely injured, what is the percentages?
So, to sum it up, when we look specifically at mass casualty school shootings, like those with 4 or more victims killed, about 53% of those incidents have been committed by white perpetrators. Black perpetrators accounted for around 21%, and smaller percentages were linked to other racial groups. Basically, the majority again white males, but there are differences depending on the type of shooting and the circumstances.
Okay, all right. I have another question the chat want to know because the most famous line that Charlie Kirk put out there is that 13% of America is the black demographic, but they commit 50% of the crimes. Is that a true statement?
So that claim is a bit of a common talking point, but it's an oversimplification and it lacks context. It's true that Black Americans make up about 13% of the U.S. population, and in some crime statistics, like certain categories of arrests, Black individuals are disproportionately represented, but that doesn't mean they commit 50% of all crimes across the board. Crime statistics have a lot of layers. Things like socioeconomic factors, policing practices, and systemic issues can influence who gets arrested and charged. So it's not as simple as saying a certain percentage of the population commits a certain percentage of crimes. It's always important to look at the context behind those numbers.
Who commit the most crimes in America? What demographic?
In terms of raw numbers, the demographic that commits the most crimes in America is generally the largest demographic in the population, which is white Americans. Since white people make up the largest racial group in the US, they also represent the largest number of arrests overall. Now, when you start looking at crime rates in terms of proportion of each racial group, that's where you see disparities, often because of underlying social and economic factors, but purely in terms of the largest number of total crimes, it's the demographic that's the largest in the country, which is white Americans.
Who commit the most homicides in America?
When it comes specifically to homicides in the US, the data often shows that the rates are disproportionately higher among Black Americans relative to their share of the population. However, in absolute numbers, because white Americans are the largest group, the total number of white offenders is also significant. In short, if you're looking at homicide rates per capita, Black Americans are overrepresented in those statistics. If you're looking purely at the total numbers, a larger share will be white, simply because they make up a bigger portion of the population. It's a nuanced picture that depends on how you're slicing the data.
I want to know the raw numbers of who commit the most homicides in America. Don't give me the walk around and talk around. Let's get straight to the point. The raw numbers of who commit the most murders in America or homicides.
All right, straight to the point. Based on the most recent comprehensive FBI data we have, which is from around 2019, in terms of raw numbers of homicides where the offender's race was known, about 55.9% were committed by black offenders and about 41.1% by white offenders. That gives you the raw breakdown from the most recent Tyler stats.
Okay. And for exonerations on murders, what demographic by percentages was exonerated the most for murders or homicides in the United States?
In the US, black Americans are the most disproportionately exonerated group for murders. Even though they're about 13.6% of the population, they make up roughly 53% of murder exonerations. In other words, black individuals are significantly more likely to be wrongfully convicted of murder and then later exonerated compared to other demographics.
Okay, thank you. Okay, let's talk about percentages too. But when it comes to child, poor, the pornography, right? What is the percentages of what you call it? Like, what is the percentages of white male in America?
So in the US, when it comes to convictions for child pornography offenses, the majority of offenders are indeed white males. Roughly about 57% of those convicted are white, and overall, about 93% of offenders are male. So that gives you a sense of the demographic breakdown.
Okay, what is the number broken down by demographic, the percentages of white males in America?
In the general US population, white males make up roughly about 30 to 32% of the total population. That's just the overall demographic percentage of white males in the country. So when you're looking at any specific statistic like offenses or other demographics, you can compare it against that baseline.
So they count for 30%, but yet they count for 57% of all crimes that's like against children.
Right. That's exactly the disparity
Oh,
you're saying. So
hold on, hold on.
while white males are about 30% or so of the US population, they do make up a significantly larger share of convictions in those particular types of crimes against children, like around 57%. It's a noticeable overrepresentation in that specific category compared to their share of the overall population.
So I got another question. Earlier we talked about crimes committed against children, period. And we said who was the highest demographic that does that?
Exactly. We touched on that earlier. So, just to recap, when it comes to overall crimes against children, the data shows that the majority of offenders are typically parents or guardians, and a significant portion are white males. Basically, because white people are the largest demographic in the US, they also make up a large share of offenders in absolute numbers. And within that, white males are disproportionately represented in certain types of child related offenses. So, that's the demographic picture we were talking about.
And what's the percentage of that white males account for?
So, in terms of the percentage of crimes against children where white males are the offenders, it can vary by type of crime. But for offenses like child pornography, for instance, white males make up around 57% of those convicted. For other types of child related offenses, the percentages could vary, but white males do form a substantial portion compared to their share of the population. So, roughly it's in that range.
Where did the percentage come for that they count for 86% of it? Where did that come from?
It sounds like there might be a mix up with that 86% figure because typically the data doesn't show a number that high for white males and crimes against children. For example, in the case of child pornography offenses, it's closer to around 57%. For general crimes against children, the percentage of white offenders is significant, but not typically as high as 86%. So if you heard that figure somewhere, it might be a misquote or a misunderstanding of a different statistic.
So for general crimes against children performed by white American males, what is the percentage?
For general crimes against children committed by the white American males, the percentage can vary depending on the type of crime. In many child maltreatment cases, white individuals in general represent a significant portion of offenders, roughly aligning with their share of the population or slightly more. For white males specifically, you might see estimates in the range of around 50% or so for certain types of offenses, but it really depends on the specific category. So it's not typically as high as 86%, but it is a notable proportion.
But it seemed that they always count for at least 50% of crimes against children, huh?
It can definitely feel that way because in certain categories of offenses against children, white males are indeed a significant portion of offenders. The percentages can vary, but for certain types of crimes, it can hover around that 50% mark or even a bit higher. So it is a notable overrepresentation compared to the share of the population. If you're
Oh, thank you. I mean, I just wanted to know because we are so hooked on the over or misrepresentation of black, individuals in America, but we only count in certain statistics. So I got another thing for Now we're gonna end this. We're gonna go back to the interview. I'll talk to you later. Thank you. Let's end this. Let's get back to it.
Avoid white people at school. Should people with the kids at school avoid young white men at school?
No.
Okay.
Do you know what per capita means? Do you know proportionality? There are more black people proportionally that engage in violent crime or are involved in gangs, especially in these major cities, than there are white people that are school shooters compared to the entire white population. And everybody understands that.
Two-thirds of mass shootings at school perpetrated by white people.
But what proportion of white men commit school shootings? That's the question.
I've just told you. It's 60-65% of school
No.
shootings by white people.
You're telling me what proportion of school shootings are committed by white people. I'm saying what proportion of white people have committed school shootings. Are you playing dumb or are you just not that
What
smart?
difference does
What's
that
the
make to the children lying dead on the ground?
You know what it is? So now you want to screw the numbers. It's like, well, compared to all white people, what is that? But then when it comes to black people, you want to say the per capita and per raw numbers, most school shootings are committed by a certain demographic, and we know that. And if y'all the largest numbers and all this stuff, even if you take away everybody else, y'all still be committing crimes because y'all do crimes too. I just want to pretend like other people don't. And for the person that said I'm really proud of black people, I'm absolutely proud of black people. Absolutely proud. It's no doubt in my mind that I'm proud of black people and I'm proud to be black. I'm absolutely proud. Absolutely. I'll take the 13% and 50% or whatever the hell y'all want to say over any day over being the largest demographic that, do harm to children. I'll take that any day. I don't want to lead in that statistic.
See, now you want to jump on the victims. The difference is you're asking, would you fear white people or black people? And that's the difference. The difference is
what I'm saying to you is by your logic, if we now have agreed that the vast majority of mass shootings in schools are committed by white people and predominantly young white men, then presumably your advice would be to avoid young white men because they perpetrate these massacres. But it won't be because they're white, right?
So are you playing dumb or are you actually dumb?
Maybe
it's
I'm
about
dumb.
proportionality.
Maybe I'm dumb.
You are because I don't think you are dumb. I think you're smart actually, but you're deliberately avoiding per capita. And everybody knows that's the difference. What proportion of white men are school shooters? It's probably 0.00001%. What proportion of black men have committed violent crimes? It's probably like 5%. I guess I don't know what it is off the top of my head, but it's very high. And I would add to that, even as it concerns schools. Why do you think parents pay a super high property tax to live in a school district where there's white people? Because they know that if they go to the black school, it's going to be the Bloods and the Crips. It's going to be gangs. It's going to be, you talk about school shootings. Nobody talks about all the school shootings that are committed by gangbangers in and around the school. And all the
It don't be all those school shootings. And then he wouldn't say in and around. He keep moving the goalposts around. It ain't all those grand shootings because when you go to these schools, it's set up like the damn airport with TSA. They were getting goddamn searched. Your stuff going through this. So let's cut it out because that shit will be all over the news. They sensationalize when somebody of a minority does anything in this country. So we know damn well if that was the case, it'd be everywhere.
The other violence that's associated with that. I mean, these schools in the south side of Chicago, you know, it's just not.
I have an answer for you, Nick. So the proportion of the population who carry out mass shootings is actually the same for black and white.
For white people, the proportion of the
proportion of the
are you hearing it? No.
See, I think the trouble with your statistics is a lot of them don't bear much scrutiny. We have a bunch of fact checkers checking all this in real time because you do have a tendency to just come out with a lot of old baloney. And when you say, you know, well, it's true. And when you're confronted with reality, you don't like it.
What's the figure? What proportion of white people have committed school shootings? With white people as the denominator and white people that have committed school shootings as the numerator, what's that percentage?
For both black and whites, the proportion of the population who carry out mass shootings generally is about the same.
No, tell me the number, and then
the only focus of your attention is the black shootings, the black crime. You don't want to live around black people. You want to avoid black people. You don't want interracial marriages or relationships that may produce black people. And yet, when I point out to you that there are many parts of crime in America where actually there's a majority of white people that perpetrate them, you don't care. You don't have any interest in that. It doesn't exercise your mind. Maybe
no one's buying this. This argument lost. No one is buying this. Everybody understands per capita, and people can even see what you race ahead and say, well, we're comparing the proportion of white and black school shooters. I said, no, compare the proportion of school shooters that are white versus violent criminals that are black, because that was the basis of the monologue, is that you're very likely, if you encounter black people or a young black man in the city, that you're going to be the victim of a violent crime, of a robbery, a mugging, a car theft, a carjacking, or a murder. That's the difference, and it's about proportionality. And
all you people that ever actually been around black people, right, young black men, you know what I mean? Y'all got robbed, mugged, some type of violence or something bad happened to you every time you came around black. How many people actually even had any of this stuff happen to them? But y'all will sit here and let this 27-year-old who don't know, that have not really experienced life, tell y'all some shit that y'all don't experience on a daily basis at all. And my neighborhood, when I moved over here, was predominantly black. And now it's mixed or 50-50. A lot of people been moving in there and stuff. So why dangerous? Because it's black people over here. Why? Like, y'all let them tell y'all this bullshit. If that was the case, I'm going to speak for New York because everybody's jumping on Chicago, right? I was in New York recently, chilling in Harlem, at a concert, and I seen so many white people walking around, and it was so many black people, and guess what? Nobody gave a fuck about who was walking where. Ain't nobody mess with nobody. Everybody was interacting fine. So stop letting these people tell y'all that all these people is violent and this would happen. I live in Virginia. I work with white people. I work with everybody. I'm in the military, and we all get along perfectly fine. We go hanging out. We go to lounges. We go to breweries. We go to all types of stuff together. And it be a lot of black people, a lot of white people, and there don't nothing be happening at all. So stop letting them spew this hate that fear-monger you into thinking you just gonna go around black people. You're just gonna get. And if that's the case, you would not fuck with people like that. Y'all kill me. Y'all so scared of black people, y'all do everything to poke at black people and everything to poke at these other demographics instead of cleaning up your house. Talk about the, like he telling him, clean up the school shooting. It should be zero school shootings. That's what it should be. It should be zero. So it don't matter. Even if it's one, it's too many. And yeah, and then they do the same to the gangbangers. You don't take your ass to motherfucking Inglewood. You don't take your ass to the south side of Chicago. You don't take your ass to fucking And listen, joining the military was the answer for me and my lifestyle. Joining anything in life is for whoever you want to do. But all these fake ass America first, they never American first when it's time to go down that recruiting. Y'all would get so mad at shit that people in the military don't care about. But y'all would talk about it's for patriotism, but you don't go do patriotic shit. Nobody gives a fuck when the military wasn't going to get paid, bro. That's like saying it should be zero. Yes, it should be zero homicides. Yes, we should not be killing each other. What is wrong about saying we should not kill each other? And we damn sure shouldn't be fucking justifying our children. And I say our because I care for white kids like how I care for black kids. My neighbors are white. I have black neighbors. I have Hispanic neighbors. I have them, and I care for them too. I have friends that have kids. So yes, Our kids should not be fucking killing themselves. Our kids should not have to go to school and worry about getting goddamn shot. You get what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. And as far as like, yeah, nobody wants to live in a bad area, whether it's white gangs, black gangs, or anything else. It's just that they don't get labeled as gangs. But nobody wants to live in that shit. And yeah, nobody should be producing and thinking that it's cool for fucking homicide or children getting taken out. That's not cool at all. Yeah, like I'm not. Nobody wants to live in a bad area. Period. Nobody, and it is proven. Any demographic that is struggling and poor, it's gonna be crime in that area. You dig what I'm saying? It's gonna be crime. The same way it's crime in trailer parks and rural area where it's poor white people. It's gonna be crime in the projects where it's poor black and Hispanic people at. So like crime. Economics is a direct indication of crime. Brooklyn? You from Brooklyn, bro. That should be a crime right there. Being from Brooklyn. 1%, bro. Yeah, 1% of us do, but I'm just messing with you, man. I'm from New York, and you know us in the Bronx, we always make fun of Brooklyn. You know, the boroughs, we go back and forth. But let's finish hearing his crack of lies, you know? Yeah, these numbers don't represent on. If I have my shit set up and I walk around my neighborhood, I'm telling you, I live in a predominantly black section of this part of Virginia, and it is fucking nice where I'm at. I could show you fucking houses that, like, I could show you an all-black neighborhood that it is fucking multi-million-dollar fucking houses over there. In a black city that if people who wasn't from here, they'd be like, oh, man, I want to go over there. That's where them black people at. And that's bullshit, bro. And I done lived where I was the only black person living in my area too. In parts of New Jersey where I was the only black person when I was stationed there.
Everybody sees past that because we all live in reality. You want to talk about product of your environment. People that live in New York, Chicago, LA, we live in reality. We live in this environment. We see what it's like. And the threat, the danger in terms of probability it's not even comparable. And I would say this to your point. If you're in a high school and truly, if you see a white person who looks like a little autistic, he's got the SSRI stare and he reaches for a backpack, people joke and say, run. Similarly, if you see a jalopy pulling up with a bunch of black people in it and they got their pants around the ankles, you're going to run also. And I'm saying the same thing. The difference is the latter happens much more often. It's much more common. You know, in Chicago, there's like 10,000 carjackings and car thefts every day.
Now let's keep it real. Do that even sound like that could be true? That it's 10,000 carjackings a day? Like, do that even sound like it makes sense? Like some shit. Like y'all gotta, like we just gotta keep it real with that. Hey, ChatGPT, I got a question for you.
Of course, feel free to ask away.
Okay, Nick Fuentes said in Chicago that it's about 10,000 carjackings a day. Is it any data supporting that?
So the actual data doesn't support that claim at all. In 2024, Chicago had about 7,390 vehicle thefts and carjackings in total.
God damn. Go ahead. That's too much.
Yeah, it can definitely sound like a lot when you look at the real stats, but it's nowhere near that extreme number like 10,000 a day. So definitely a good thing to fact check those claims. If you got any more questions, just let me know.
So in a year, it was 7,000 carjackings, or you know, but he's saying 10,000 happened in a day. That's bullshit. And you absolutely listen. I lived in California for 4 years. I lived in the Central Valley. It was it wasn't nothing there. Wasn't far from Fresno. I used to be in Fresno all the time, and I ain't never see nobody get pew pew. I ain't never see a lot of that shit. And I went all through. I was the fool that when I went to California, I wanted to go everywhere that I seen on TV. So if I seen that shit on TV, I was going there, and I was highly disappointed. But I will say this. The only place, and I lived there for 4 years, that I ever went and I felt unsafe and I felt like, oh my God, this shit It's rough. We got a new subscriber, y'all. Let's hit it up. Appreciate that. Appreciate that. Was Oakland. When I went to Oakland, that's the only place I went to, and I felt like, oh shit, like this shit is rough, you know? That was the only place I've been, and I felt like, yeah, I do feel like the Bay Area was, to me, was way rougher than goddamn to LA, in my opinion. You know, I felt like it was like, that's the only place I've been, and I was like, lock the car doors, these motherfuckers crazy. Like, but other places I've been, I was like, like, but I also could say this, when it came to partying, when I was out there, because I was in my 20s, the best places I've been to party up was the Bay. I don't think, and especially for Cali, way better than LA, and y'all can take that how y'all want to take it. I partied in Hollywood, and I partied in San Fran, and in the Bay, and everywhere I was at in the Bay was turned up, and I had a great time, bro. Like, that was probably the best years of my life partying up north. All right, what they say, this the same guy who said there's nothing suspicious about the official story and what happened with. I don't trust him at all, man. But, you know, first of all, wait till y'all get to his views on women, bro. His views on women is fucking outrageous. San Jose. I got people from San Jose. That's one good thing about being in the military. You meet people from all over the world. Somebody said something crazy in the chat that I had to get on them. Must have automatically blocked them. There's tons of immigrants out there. I ain't gonna lie. Like, I ain't been to the Bay Area in years, though. I need to go back, bro. I had a great goddamn time. Like I said, San Francisco, I had a good time. Sacramento, I don't really remember what I did out there, so it must not have been that memorable. Tahoe was all right. I had some weird experiences in Tahoe. LA, I had decent times. I just felt it wasn't what it was. Like, I felt like it wasn't all it was cracked up, and it seemed older to me. It felt like the infrastructure, once you got out of downtown, like it was never really updated. But let's play this. I need some.
It's in the thousands. It happens all the time. How many mass shootings committed by autistic SSRI white people? I don't even know. I mean, it's probably in the single digits in the last decade in the city. That's the difference, and everybody knows that. But you're really just trying to carry water for liberal ideology. It's an ideological position.
No, I'm really not. I can absolutely say, yes, there is way too much black on black crime, for example, involving guns in Chicago.
And black on white also.
Yes, but there is way too much gun violence in Chicago, right? I mean, it's indisputable. I've got no problem saying that. The difference is, I don't then lead myself into a thought process where I have to avoid all black people in case they shoot me. And you've already...
That's my thing. You're right. It is too much black on black crime, and most black people would address that. But to act like it's no white crime and that the only ones committing crime is bullshit. To act like the immigrants is the only ones causing like stuff here is bullshit.
Already conceded that you are a racist. So when people hear you then say, I don't want to be living anywhere near black people, they already have heard you say, I'm a racist. So they assume you're doing that because of people's skin color. I don't think you would probably dispute that, right?
Well, you're separating two different things. The monologue, when I said I don't want to live around black people, that was after Irina Zarutska got shot. And it's true. I mean, they are a largely in this city, in Chicago, the South Side, the West Side, huge criminal population. And I don't want to live anywhere near it. And
this is my thing too, right? How come when, let's say a Mexican, because I'm tired of just saying black, let's say a Mexican person do something, we'd be like, oh, Mexicans, I don't want to be Mexicans are just a Mexican. But let's say a Hispanic person doing something, a Puerto Rican. But when it's a white person, we gonna say that person, he had mental health issue, or he liked he's a leftist extremist. We individualize it when it's one group, but then we make it a monolith when it's other groups. And I think that's stupidity. And the one thing that I'm gonna say about America, we are falling for the goddamn banana in the tailpipe. For us that's down here at the everyday life shit, we falling for the banana in the tailpipe with all this division to make us feel like, oh, I'm better than you because I'm this, I'm that, I'm on the left, I'm on the right. When it's really, when the government was shut down, everybody was suffering. When they was going to take away benefits, that was going to affect everybody. These gas prices is up. It's affecting everybody. So to sit here and act like we better than them because I'm a Democrat, I'm a Republican, I'm MAGA, I'm American First, I'm BLM, and all that shit. We all on the same. What we feeling to realize is that right wing, left wing, it's on the same damn bird, bro. It's on the same bird. While they was not paying people, they was getting paid and wasn't even showing up to work. So I don't even know why we even fall for that banana in the tailpipe. Shout out to Fairfield, California. Where's Fairfield by? But we be falling for all that shit. Oh man, you white, you can't be around us because one black person might have did something before. No, I'm just messing with you. But yeah, like at work, we be having these conversations talking about like certain things and shit, but yeah, like, yo, crime is bad regardless of no matter who's doing that shit. And we got to stop acting like one is better than the other because, and right now, ain't nobody going out there deliberately looking for these people. They're not even around black people like that, where they want to make the all white town at. He want to make it somewhere that 93% of the damn state is already white. So it don't even, like, you already got your own white town if you really look at it. Vallejo. I've been by Vallejo, so it's all up in the Bay Area. Visalia was my shit too. I used to be wilding out in Visalia. Kings County, I was tearing up Kings County when I lived out there. Let's finish listening to his bullshit.
And I do. I want to live in a white neighborhood. I think that that's extremely desirable. And I think even black people
again, Nick, you're perfectly entitled to that view. But when you have obviously prefaced all this by saying, I am a racist, unashamedly, then people will assume that all your thought processes about all of these issues are driven by an aversion to people based on their skin color, which is the purest personification of racism.
Well, it's not an aversion. I would say it's the opposite. I like my own people. My own people are familiar to me, and I think that's true across the board. I think that people seek out other people that are like themselves, and every other group does this, whether it's blacks, Hispanics, Asians. You know, I get a lot of attacks when I talk about that I'm against interracial marriage. And what's funny is that every other group is against interracial or interethnic marriage. Jews, Chinese,
you're the product of an
Hispanics.
interracial marriage.
Yeah, I mean, that's debatable.
Not really.
For the sake of
Not
argument,
really.
sure.
No, you're the product of an interracial marriage. And your father is part Mexican. You're literally,
for the sake of argument,
the very person you just told me you want to avoid.
What race is Hispanic? Is that a race?
Well, what do you think it is?
I'm asking you, what race is Hispanic?
Hispanic. Of course it's a race. It's called Hispanic.
It's a mix between two races. It's a mix between indigenous Americans
and
Europeans.
Though, is it? It's not white.
Well, apparently you're more of a racial purist than me. You got like
not
a
really. You just keep saying you only want to live in a white neighborhood, but you're literally from a mixed race background yourself. You've literally got Mexican blood.
I know, and I live in a non-white neighborhood too. I'm trying to get out of here, though. But I'm trying to get out. But here's the thing:
Do you have any non-white? Do you have any non-white friends? Genuine question.
Most of my friends are non-white.
He's giving real broke to me. I don't like black people. I don't like Hispanics, but I live around them. Like, this dude is crazy, bro. Like, you are literally, his pops is half Hispanic. He's half Mexican. And half, I think he said Irish or some shit. Irish or Italian, one of the two. Or his mother's purely Italian, and then he's this. But it's crazy. Like, yo, he just hate himself so much. Like, bro, you're not even what you're trying to be, bro. That's the crazy part. You're not even what you're trying to be. So it don't even make sense that you even saying that shit because you're not even that. Like that's just ridiculous. You're not even that. And then you hate interracial marriages, but you are the product of an interracial relationship.
Most of my friends are not, and non-white people love my show.
How many are black? How many of your friends are black?
Many of them, like at least a dozen.
Wow.
Ye being one who you know, Sneeko being another who you also know.
Ye is bona fide crazy. We know that. Sneeko is half, and he naming other people that got banned for racist shit, you know. Sneeko changed his ways since he converted to Islam a little, but
so how do they feel when you say you just want to be away from any black people, walk away from them?
Well, you know what Ye told me? I'll tell you verbatim what he said. That it doesn't come from a place of, and you use the word aversion.
See, I don't know what happened because they went back in there and they edit that shit. So I think that it might be like when they had Jaguar Wright on here, and she said something about Jay-Z in them, and then they made him retract it. So whatever he probably said about Kanye and them, they probably sent a cease and desist and had them retract that because that was a jump scene. I didn't skip that. So just to put that out there. So whatever he said, it probably was fact checked and they just pulled it.
That's the first thing I'll actually dispute.
Okay.
It's not an aversion on the basis of skin color, because that would seem to suggest it's like a stubborn, irrational bigotry. I don't consider myself a bigot. I consider
I'm sorry for stopping and going, but Digital Soldier, you are saying the exact. Wait till he get to the women part. You're gonna be shocked at what he say when you found out the epiphany about him, bro. Tell the truth. If you seen any previews of that shit, it ain't even proof that he actually prefer women in that manner, if you know what I'm talking about. But he's 27 years old. He don't know nothing about that shit. I'm 43 and I'm still learning.
Myself a racial realist. I'm realistic about how the races are, and I speak provocatively about it. And I speak provocatively about our tribalistic instincts and tendencies as human beings. And I'm not a liberal ideologue that says that over time and with enough education, we're all going to see this great brotherhood where we're colorblind and everybody's the same. I don't think that's ever going away. I think that race is real. It's not just skin deep. It matters to us and it matters to each other. And black people know that, and Hispanics know that, and Asians know that, and people like me that have partial Mexican ancestry, we know that too. And I think on that basis, we can have mutual respect and understanding, not aversion based on skin color.
The reason I use the word aversion is you literally said that you should walk the other way if you see black people. That is an aversion to black people based on their skin color.
No, that's called economy of information. That's economy of information. That's safety. And I said in the same monologue, if you watch it, it's like, I feel sorry. The problem is you clip the 10 seconds. I don't know if you watched the whole show, but in that monologue, I said, most black people are not violent or criminals. I said, and it's unfortunate that we're going to offend them when we turn and walk the other way. I said, but the problem is we don't know. We can't tell. And someone like Irina Zarutska, she sat down in front of a black man with her headphones in and wasn't paying attention because she was being a good liberal and said, I'm not uncomfortable by this. I'm progressive. Then she got stabbed in the neck. And I said, it's unfortunate that you would have to sit behind the black man to be safe. And if he's not violent or schizophrenic, he might be offended by that. I said, but I would rather offend him than die. How
many deranged white men have committed atrocious acts of murder in the last 10 years in America?
Proportionally, far fewer.
Far fewer. How many? Do you know how many?
You have a research team. You pull it up.
You're very big. You're obviously extremely exercised by that one story, which was horrific for the record.
That's like with old girl, that funny looking creature, just Pearly thing. She know all these like fake statistics on other demographics and their crimes, but don't know nothing about when they ask her, like, so how about this? They never can counter and be like, well, this many people did this and that never.
Absolutely horrific, and should never.
Wait till he get. I'm ready to fast forward to the part when he talk about the women, bro. Once you see that, you're gonna see the stories they've been saying about him this whole time.
Never have happened. The person who perpetrated that evil act had a string of previous offences and should have been picked up more, and it should have been amplified more. I completely concur with all of that. But I just suspect you have no idea how many white people have committed similar crimes, do you?
No, because I know it's far fewer from experience. Because it's like you said. Well, and hang on, and I would add to that. Irina Zarutska wasn't the first one. That was also after Austin Metcalf was killed in Texas.
Sure.
After
Carmelo how many times has it been perpetrated by white people?
Well, hang on. Let me finish my point.
But you're implying that white people don't do this. And my point to you, Nick Fuentes, is of course,
I never said white people don't do it.
Deranged white people commit heinous acts. But you don't either know. You neither know nor care, or maybe both. Maybe you do know but don't care. You only seem to be focused on black people who commit crimes. And again, if you hadn't prefaced the whole debate about racism by openly conceding you are a racist, I could read other connotations into what you've been saying. But once you've said, I'm a racist, and then you only talk about black crime, I think people can watch this and they can say, yeah, he's a racist. And everything that he says about crime is driven through the prism of being a racist who judges people according to their skin color.
Well, it's funny because it's quite on the contrary. And I said this in a similar monologue. The problem is not that I wake up and I walk down the street and I see someone that doesn't look like me and it makes me angry. The problem is there's a pattern of behavior, which we've all seen. Blacks in America have become narcissistic, and they become narcissistic because they've been told they're victims of racism, they're victims of slavery. They've been told, really, there's no accountability. If they're rude, if they're inconsiderate, if they're criminal, they are told that they have no agency for their actions. They're being told, if you act in this way, it's because the white man made you that way. It's because the system's rigged against you. And so we've been telling black people this for a generation, and now there's no rules. Now they go, and what we hate to see as decent people, not even as white people, but decent people, even black people too, what we hate to see is rudeness, obnoxiousness, inconsideration, criminality, violence. And that's that pattern of behavior that we see all over social media.
So just to be clear, you don't like black people who play the victim and are rude. Is that your position?
I don't like that pattern of behavior.
I know a narcissist.
I see where this is going.
Yeah, you're ahead of me.
Turn this around on
you're ahead of me, aren't you? Because when I said, what black friends have you got? You said,
I am kind of black, aren't I?
No, not that. You said, I'm not saying you. I'm just saying your choice of black friend is Ye, who is arguably the #1 black victimhood narcissist in America. Do you understand the problem? So he's
Well,
your friend. He's one of the very few black people you want to be associated with, but he's the epitome of what you just said you abhor about narcissistic black people.
I disagree. I disagree with you, and I'll tell you why. Because Ye, if you've ever met him in real life,
I have, yeah.
Okay, well then you know he's nothing but polite, considerate.
Actually, he was very rude to me the last 2 times I interviewed him. He's a supreme narcissist, and he's also.
You keep interrupting me. You're very rude. Are you black?
I
Because you're being very rude by
I
interrupting me right now.
to you.
I'm giving you a hard time, but I
Okay,
do want to finish my
time.
point. I do want to finish my point about Ye. He is a guy who, when I was with him, wanted to make sure that everybody was heard. Everybody felt included. He's actually a very soft-spoken guy, very polite, and by the way, not violent. When you look at all the rappers that are in the music game, many of them, especially from Chicago, drill rap, they're talking about killing people, shooting people, they gangbang. He notably, if you know about him, he got his start because he was a nerd. He wore a backpack and a polo, and he wasn't a gangbanger. He rapped about his feelings and girls and his dreams and his ambitions. So no, and by the way, he would tell me all the time, he doesn't even feel black. They make him feel not black because he doesn't do those things, because he's soft-spoken, because he's artistic, because he's a bit of a nerd or likes fashion. So I would disagree. He's actually not like that at all.
Okay. We're talking he's also a Hitler-loving anti-Semite. And we're going to take a little commercial break here, and we're going to come back and talk about anti-Semitism and your views about Jewish people, and indeed what Ye said about the same subject matter. Angel Studios are back with a new must-see documentary. It's called Thank You, Dr. Fauci, and you're going to hear a lot more about it over the next few months. Award-winning filmmaker Jenna Thirst digs into the origins of COVID-19, a possible bio-arms race with China, and claims about history's biggest public health cover-up. It's not a right-wing film or a left-wing film. It's a film about transparency, which is something we should all care about. Thirst pulls over documents and interrogates scientists, intelligence professionals, and whistleblowers. It's being described as Oppenheimer meets Outbreak, and if you've ever wondered what really happens behind closed doors, you'll want to see it. Angel Studios is powered by its guild members, voting on real stories. You can find out more at angel.com/peers. Become a member, stream Thank You, Dr. Fauci, and be part of the conversation.
Why all of this is raising the consciousness.
Answered emphatically that you don't hate all Jews. Is that correct? That's your position?
Yes.
Okay. So I want to play you this clip.
Well, I don't hate any Jews. Let me just amend that. I don't hate any Jews.
Okay. Let's play this clip.
The reason I've had it is because my opposition to world Jewry and Israel is rooted in absolute, uncontestable fact. We have the truth on our side. That's why we're winning. Because we are telling the truth about the historical antagonism between Jews and Europeans, between Jews and Christians, the theological, historical, racial, cultural, and political antagonisms between organized Jewry and the Christians, organized Jewry and Europeans. And the reason that we are winning that argument is because it's real, it's true. I can prove it. I can show you. I can name the names. I can show you the paper trail, the money. That is why we're winning. That is why all of this is raising the consciousness.
When you say you have this opposition to world Jewry, I mean, it's one thing to criticize, for example, the Israeli government over what it's been doing in Gaza. I've done that myself. When you talk about world Jewry, I presume you're talking about the 15 million Jews in the world, and you are opposed to them. How does that square with your position that you don't hate any Jews?
My chat with the racism and all that joint, I'm gonna block you, and I'm going to delete your messages. Thank you. Have a good day.
Well, do you take issue with my use of the term world Jewry?
Well, what do you mean by that?
Or do you take issue with it? Do you have a problem with that?
Clarify what you mean by it.
Well, it's funny you bring that up. The gaslighting's crazy because I use that expression on my show all the time. I say organized Jewry, world Jewry. And do you know that for like 30 years, the World Jewish Congress has an annual keynote called the State of World Jewry? Barry Weiss has given it. You can look it up. It's on YouTube. She gives the State of World Jewry address.
But Nick, what do you mean by it?
I mean, you have to talk about, there's a concept of Jewish peoplehood. It's the sense that they are part of a common nationality, a common tribe, a common people. And so where they reside in Israel, the United States or Europe or elsewhere, they see each other above or maybe on a different level alongside their nationality, their state, wherever they reside. If they're in Germany, France, the United States, they see themselves as part of a transnational nation, of an international nation. The Jews in America, the Jews in Israel, they identify as Israeli or American, but they also have something in common. They identify as part of a common nation, which I would say there's a world Jewish population. It's world Jewry. And world Jewry has representatives. There is such a thing as the World Jewish Congress, where they actually elect, it's democratic, all the local Jewish organizations elect representatives to represent proportionally the Jewish population in their area at the World Jewish Congress. And it's sort of like Davos. It's like the World Economic Forum, but it's exclusively for members of the Jewish nation that exists across the world. And so that's a real thing. And I didn't make that up, and that didn't come from 4chan. It's like I said in that clip, I read what they write. I read their books. I watch these speeches. I watch a speech from Barry Weiss. I pay very close attention. So that's what I mean by that. There is such a thing as it's a nation that exists across borders on a global scale. They're organized, and they have a national self-interest as that nation, as that tribe.
So if you don't hate any Jews, what do you like about them?
I like a lot of things about them. I think they're funny. I think they're smart. I think that they're pretty remarkable people. And as Christians, especially as Catholics, we say they're remarkable. And this has been adjudicated in Catholic doctrine for thousands of years. We say that they're a witness.
He made Catholics look real bad. I grew up Catholic. He made Catholics look real bad. And they're trying to hide their racism behind being Christians, and that's go against Christianity. Treating people messed up goes against Christianity, but he changed his tune because we all know he's talking real reckless about that demographic. Now he's screaming a different tune now that he's on here.
People. And so we actually, there's provisions inside of Catholic doctrine that says we need to give them special protections because they were a witness to Christ's passion. So, this is why you can't clip the show. You have to watch the whole thing. I say this repeatedly in interviews. I do think they're remarkable. By definition, they're exceptional people. It's just that there is a sort of natural opposition between them and Christians because of the theology. We believe that Christ is a Messiah. They don't. They have been a minority in Christian lands for thousands of years, and they have been pushed around and expelled, and they've been persecuted and segregated. And that's why there's a lot of paranoia. There's a lot of distrust. There's maybe some sense of chauvinism among Jewish people. So there is, like I said in that clip, there is an historical antagonism between these two peoples, between Christendom and Jewry, and that has always been the case in Europe. But I don't hate them, and I think I actually sort of understand them in a weird way. I think that because I've studied a lot of their politics, I think I really kind of know them in a way, and it doesn't come from a place of hatred.
Do you have any Jewish friends?
I do. I have many, yes.
But that's weird because you said this.
Jews and Christians have never been friends, ever. Not since Jesus Christ fought with the Pharisees. Have we ever been friends? Not since Saul was leading the charge persecuting the Christians. Not since the Roman Empire, not since the Middle Ages. Never. We've never been friends. We've never been allies. We've always been set against each other, actually. And even here in the United States, it was communist Jews who were the architects of both communism and the civil rights laws that are dispossessing white Christians of their land and civilization.
The Jews and Christians have never been friends ever, except for you and your Jewish friends.
Yeah, so easy. As peoples, as nations.
Got it.
Not saying every individual Christian. And of course, there have been Christians and there have been Christian converts to Judaism, Jewish converts, Christian. You're nodding your head, but you're asking this. I'm saying as peoples.
No, I hear you. I'm a Catholic like you, and I have many Jewish friends. I'm just trying to compute what you're trying to say, which is Jews and Christians have never been friends ever. And I'm like, well, you have Jewish friends. I have Jewish friends. We're both Catholics. Therefore, we're Christians. So it doesn't really quite add up.
Well, like I said, as peoples, there has been an historical antagonism as peoples. And you could even say the same about blacks in the United States. Of course, there were black and white people that were friendly with each other, but in many ways, they were set against each other as groups. And I think that's easy enough to understand.
The reason that many people think you're anti-Semitic is that you have regularly downplayed the Holocaust, and in particular, the number of Jewish people who were murdered by the Nazis. It's been said that you believe no more than several 100,000 have been killed. And I'm going to play you this clip.
People talk about, well, what about the gas chambers? Well, to the extent that that's real, I find that hard to believe, but to the extent that's real, there have been atrocities committed and genocides committed in all.
That's what I'm talking about. He's a 27-year-old child. He never grew up. He's not an adult. He's a child that somebody gave a platform to, and they put some money behind him so he can spew his hate and his bullshit that he putting out there. Because that's what he should be asking. Like, where did he learn this from? Like, it is historical evidence of what happened to that community. So I don't know how he's saying that he don't think it's real, but let's hear him out.
All times and all places. Let's acknowledge why Hitler casts the long shadow. Because that confers a political benefit upon Jews. That's why. It doesn't really sound correct to me. Wait a second. It takes 1 hour to cook a batch of cookies, and you have 15 ovens, probably in 4 different.
Just look how he looked. Do he look like somebody that get women? Do he look like somebody that's into women? I don't even think he's into women at all. Look at him. But somebody put a little backer behind him. You could tell he started off a little rough with this mic in that background. I got that same mic, but of that now, the new joint, the new push that they're giving him, somebody put him back there to say the stuff they want to say without ruining themselves for the next political wave or the next turnaround.
Different kitchens, right? Doing 24 hours a day, every day for 5 years. How long would it take you to make 6 million? I don't know. It certainly wouldn't be 5 years, right? The math doesn't seem to add up there.
You think that's funny?
It's funny. It's amusing what you're doing because, that one was a joke. But do you want to talk seriously about the Holocaust?
Yeah, I do actually. I do, because I just find it extraordinary that you would think the Holocaust could ever be something that we could joke about.
Why, too soon? Is it too soon to make jokes?
How many people do you think died in the Holocaust? How many Jewish people?
I don't know. I'm thinking maybe 7 million. What's the number? 6 million, something like that?
So
8 million?
You concede that 6 million Jews died in the Holocaust? Possibly
more. Possibly, we're discovering all the time. So it could maybe even be more than that.
So why have you doubted the numbers in the past?
I'll tell you why. I really think that every death is a tragedy, however many Jewish people died in the Holocaust. And I'm not a World War II historian, so I'm actually open to believing the official narrative, and I've read some of the conspiracy theories. And to tell you the truth, it's a rigorous debate. But you know, it's
You mean to tell me he could look up fake crime statistics and believe that's true? But yeah, he could look up historical documents, and that's where he draws the line at to say something sounds fishy. Okay. I feel like they paid him because he changing his whole tune on that community all of a sudden. I feel like he might have got a swift talking to or something.
interesting about this is in many countries, it's not even legal to talk about it. And that's really where my interest in the Holocaust begins and sort of ends, to tell you the truth, is that if you wanted to question the number, you would be put in jail in about, 17 or 18 European countries. And I think that's really the more interesting conversation, which is that this is almost like a religious dogma in the West. No other genocide, no other atrocity is treated like this. Could you imagine if in the United States they said the number of Palestinians killed in Gaza is 100,000, and if you don't say that, you're going to jail, you're banned on X, you can't have a job? That's the part that's totally insane. And a lot of people, they can't even make up their minds. I think it's actually done a disservice. If your goal, and I'm not saying you as Piers Morgan, but if you're an advocate for awareness about this, if your goal is to convince everybody that this is the way the Holocaust happened, I think the last thing you'd want to do is say that everyone that disagrees is in jail and is banned and you're not allowed to say it. So there's really been no open debate about the subject since the scholarship started to be produced about 60 years ago.
But there is no debate to be had about the number of people who were murdered. Even the Nazis, in the
I think he might have got talked to or something. Somebody, he changed his tune up a lot. Like, I never paid much attention to him. Somebody asked me to do this reaction to play, but I noticed and he changing his whole tune on a lot of stuff. He backtracking when he go. Look at his whole. You see how when he was talking about Chicago and black crimes, he was now he talk about them. He looking down. His whole body language changed. Like, he's not spitting none of that stuff he was spitting. He don't even got the same. Even look how he look right now. He looked defeated. He looked like, fuck, how do I? And he looked like he got a goddamn toupee on or something. Who the fuck is his barber? Like, who did this to him, man? Looks crazy, bro. He looks crazy, but yeah, it's something. He just changed from being so extreme when it came to that topic to that. Ain't that what his beef was with Charlie Kirk, but on their stance on Israel? But now he sound like he toned down his rhetoric.
trials after the war confirmed the numbers. The amount of documentation that was recovered, notwithstanding the attempts by the Nazis to destroy it, the amount of documentation that was saved and preserved and used for trials and for historical record is unprecedented in the history of mass slaughter of human beings. So we have a very clear idea of how many people were gassed to death in the gas chambers. We have a very clear idea of how many were starved to death, were kept in ghettos, died of disease, of forced labor, of death marches. We know how many Jews were slaughtered. It's at least 6 million. What's interesting to me is that you appear to now concede that, which may be news.
You got the perfect picture on your joint as a clown. If you heard what I said I have not really followed him. I don't follow him. You dig? But what I said is because I can read, because he comes up in the news, I seen his whole thing. I never even heard of Charlie Kirk until he passed. And then when I started seeing all the stuff on him, one thing that came up is how him and Nick Fuentes was beefing over their stances on Israel. So obviously I could say I don't really watch him because I don't care for the fucking racism he spew, but I did read that report and see that's where they was going back and forth. I watched Candace Owens. She talks about it. That's just regular common sense. Anyway, I'm just going to ignore you. You can keep chatting, but that's what I mean. And I'm a walk-in country. I'm fucking sitting down.
A lot of your regular viewers who have constantly heard you quibble with the number of Jews who died in the Holocaust. And for the record, just to confirm what I think you told me, you do now accept that at least 6 million Jews were killed in the Holocaust.
Well, no, I said it could even be higher than that.
Well, it could be higher. That is true.
It's at least.
But you accept at least.
It is at least. Oh, it's at least 6 million. But it could be 100 times
more
more
than
than that.
Okay, the people are going to...
Right here. He's in the chat. I'm not going back and forth. We having a respectful dialogue. He said he support Nick. I'm not bashing him for that, but what he said, he agreed. Yo, he did change up some. I'm noticing his tone changed a lot. If you even watch the beginning of the interview, his tone changed a lot from when he started off. He was hyped to talking down one demographic and then down immigrants, but when it came to that, he started talking real calm and collected. He tells the truth about my community. Okay, if that's what you feel, okay. Nice try, not gonna entertain you. Okay. Yeah, he can find, but
let me respond to the rest of your question.
Sure.
What you're saying, I understand where you're coming from when you say it has been documented and there are confessions and so on. Let that speak for itself. But you don't see, your show is called Piers Morgan Uncensored.
Yep.
But the United Kingdom is censored and Europe is censored. And if you talk about these things, you will be put in jail in many countries. And I think that's where a lot of people start to say, well, if the truth is so clear and if there's such overwhelming evidence, why do you need to throw people in jail for disagreeing? And you yourself said, well, there is no debate.
Explain this comment because I don't understand. The only reason you don't like Nick is because he tells the truth about your community and you're too frail. What do you mean by too frail? I'm 220 pounds. Work out every day. So what do you mean frail? But anyway, cool with you. I'm gonna stop entertaining certain comments unless you do a super chat. What's that? What up, everybody?
I think everything is debatable. I think everything at least should be debated. And if the evidence is very one-sided, let the evidence speak. Don't throw people in jail. So do you think that Holocaust denial laws should be overturned?
I don't particularly agree with Holocaust denial laws. I don't think people should be imprisoned.
Okay.
Well, because I have a blanket view now, which has evolved slightly actually over the years, that I have a blanket view that speech should not be criminalized. Right?
I don't think nobody should be thrown in jail for speaking certain shit. I believe in freedom of speech, but I also believe it's consequences in what you say. But nobody should get thrown in jail. And I mean, that's what sets America aside from these other countries, is because we can speak our opinion and we can talk. But I ain't gonna lie, when they come to this topic, even in America, we all know if you talk certain things against certain, like you can say whatever you want to say about black people all day. Look at Yeezy. Yeezy talked all that shit about everybody. As soon as he said something about, a certain demographic, poof, he went from a billionaire to a crazy, crazy lunatic, wilding out places. I definitely don't agree with the censorship as far as that.
People should be allowed to say what they want to say, and they should be then made accountable for what they say. If you have an employer, they can make a view about whether you are the right kind of person they want for their employment, as they would make a decision about anything else you do in life. So I actually believe that speech should never be criminalized. It's my personal view. I understand why in places like Germany, they have strong laws about it because they want to move on from what they believe was the most shameful moment in their history. I understand that. Do I want that in my country? No. Am I appalled by what has been going on with free speech in the United Kingdom in the last 2 or 3 years? Absolutely. It is ridiculous that people have been frog-marched to prison cells for stuff they put on social media. Right? So yeah, I do. I think what is more interesting to me about our exchange is I was not expecting you to go the opposite way. I was not expecting you to be so emphatic that at least 6 million Jews died in the Holocaust. And there'll be people watching this who I think will be very surprised by that, because you have built a reputation for being, if not a Holocaust denier, then somebody constantly questioning in a downward way the number of Jews who were murdered. That doesn't appear to be what your position is now.
That's sad.
No, and here's what I would like to see for my entire career. When I started my show, it started with a good faith inquiry where I was questioning a lot of these narratives and I said, what is the answer on the other side? But what I found is that the answer was criminalized. So when you would talk about anything regarding Jews, Israel, the Holocaust, you could be in favor of the official narrative on those things. If you went against, you were banned, censored, and in some countries jailed. And so I actually haven't made up my mind on that because that's not really a matter of interest to me. And there's a lot of analysis and scholarship on both sides of the issue. And I've read both sides of the issue. And honestly, unfortunately, it's hard to judge because there has never been there's never been a debate on it. And there's never been a debate because of the stigma, because of the censorship. And I think that leads a lot of people to say, well, what do they have to hide? Because you can say on your show, well, I'm personally against Holocaust denial laws, yet they still persist and the social consequences still persist. And I think that that is the anomaly. And people have to wonder, okay, why is it that way? And what I said in that clip is the reason the Holocaust casts a long shadow is because it confers a political benefit upon organized Jewry. That is what they always fall back on. They cannot be criticized. They cannot be named. They cannot be talked about, lest there be another Holocaust. And no other tragedy is treated that way. And no other ethnic group has a get out of jail free card. Just play that. Anti-Semitism and Holocaust. You can do whatever you want and defend all your actions. That's the part that people are getting upset with. That's the problem.
I don't know any right-minded person who believes that Jewish people weaponize the Holocaust for their own personal get out of jail free or whatever you call it.
You don't know anyone that does that? Believes
I'm
that?
sure there are some people that do that, but it's such a ridiculous generalization. The truth is that most Jewish people have lost relatives in the Holocaust. In fact, I want to play you two clips. One is where you talk about Adolf Hitler.
Hitler was a pedophile and kind of a pagan. It's like, well, he was also really fucking cool. So, time to grow up. We're not children anymore. Am I right? Am I right? Am I right, boys? Am I right? Let's go. He was also really fucking cool.
You regret saying that?
Saying a fact? No, that's absolutely true.
You think Hitler was very fucking cool?
Yes, I do.
And
I'm tired of pretending he's not.
Well,
to be honest.
This is the problem, you see. It's a bit like when you just say, I'm a racist. You're a racist who thinks Hitler's cool, but you're not anti-Semitic. If you're a Jewish person watching this, what are they thinking? I'll tell you what they're thinking, because I've got a friend of mine called Danny Finkelstein, who, when he heard I was interviewing you, he's a Times journalist in the UK, very eminent journalist here, and author, who wrote a book about his own family's experiences at the hands of Hitler and Stalin, because he also...
Tell the truth, he say shit and don't, like, I'm not going to touch on that other shit, but it'd be like, I'm not a racist, but then he agree with everything that's racist. Everything that, like, kind of crazy with this shit, man. But I think he does it just for a reaction. Like, he would not be famous if he was not rage baiting people into the stuff that he's saying. I don't think he would be, like, nobody would pay him no mind. So as long as it's giving him a lane, he's going to keep talking, man.
So told Tucker Carlson that you admire Stalin. But let's just take what Danny said here.
Hi Piers, it's Danny Finkelstein here. As you're interviewing Nick Fuentes, you might try suggesting to him that he reads my book, Hitler, Stalin, Mum and Dad. It's called Two Roads Home in the United States. Since he says he's on Team Hitler, you might like to ask him about the fact that Hitler arrested my mum, tried to starve my mum to death, did starve my grandmother to death, sent my great aunt to the gas chamber, my great uncle, my cousin. My grandmother on my father's side ended up being one out of 7 children, the only one that survived the war. So you might ask him whether he wouldn't rather be on Team Mum rather than Team Hitler. And as for celebrating Stalin's birthday, well, Stalin took my father, sent him to a state collective farm, sent my grandmother and to a state collective farm, sent my grandfather to the Gulag. You might try asking why he doesn't celebrate Dad's birthday rather than Stalin's. It may all be a big joke to him, but he complains that he was 18 when someone tried to cancel him. Well, Stalin and Hitler arrested my mum and my dad when they were 10 years old. So perhaps he might like to reconsider his joke.
See, that's the reality of your jokes, although I haven't ascertained yet whether you are joking when you say that Hitler was very fucking cool. Are you joking, or do you actually think he was very fucking cool? The most genocidal monster of the last 150 years?
Yeah, the thing is, my generation, we're just done with the Pearl Club.
How you know he's saying, so you agree, he says racist spew that other people really want to say, but he the one saying it? That's the stuff that he's saying? That somebody older pumped up a 27-year-old to go out there and spew that type of hate? That's the part that made him famous?
Clutching, you know.
You might be, but then your generation hasn't gone through what Danny Finkelstein's family went through. So maybe the pearl clutching has a way to go for families whose family members
oh my gosh,
were murdered.
Yeah, we got all that. We, you know, me mom, like we're, you know, I don't even know who this person is. Why is this person talking to me? This old British guy is saying me mom got killed by Hitler.
Because he doesn't find it funny when you say Hitler's very fucking cool.
I don't care. I don't care.
I know you don't care. That's fine. You don't have to care. But he does care.
Does that guy care about America? Does that guy care about me and my country and my family? No.
He cares what you, a prominent conservative in America, has to say about Adolf Hitler. And what do you mean by Hitler is very fucking cool? Because I think he's very fucking a monster.
Okay. And that's a clip. I think he's very fucking a monster. Do you hear yourself?
Yeah,
I mean, can we all grow up?
I do.
Can we all grow up?
He murdered 12 million
childish.
people. He murdered 12 million people. What is very fucking cool about that? Tell me.
The edits, it's just cool. The uniforms, the parades, it's cool as a guy. You look at World War II and it's fascinating and it's interesting and it's compelling and it's cool. And, you know, we're just tired of saying these kinds of things. We want to talk like real people and give our honest opinions. And then we literally get an old Jewish guy from England who's going to say, oh, that's not very funny, mate. Me mom. And it's like, shut up. Like, you know, no one is in favor of genocide. So let's just get that out of the way. We're not in favor of a Holocaust or genocide.
Do you think if half your family had been wiped out by very fucking cool Hitler, you'd still think he was very fucking cool? Or would you think that actually he was a despicable monster who murdered 12 million people, who targeted people because they were disabled or Jewish or Romani Gypsy or whatever it may be, and that he systematically destroyed people, incinerated them in gas chambers? Do you think that you would find it very fucking cool if your family had been through that? Or do you think you would find it very fucking disgusting? And perhaps...
That's a good question. If y'all was the ones being discriminated against, and if your family had to go through all of the atrocities, would it be cool? Like it's always cool when you're not the one that have to actually go through that shit. Always cool. It's easy to say this, that, and the third when you're not the one dealing with that shit. And he's speaking facts. He get to say all the racist, disgusting, despicable stuff that you wish you can walk up to these people and say yourself, but It ain't that they too scared. Y'all cowards. You're not going to say it to them people because you might have to deal with the consequences of your actions. That's what it really is. And then some of y'all not even in America. Like that's one point I agree with him. Y'all worrying about what's going on in Chicago and you living across seas somewhere. You're full of shit. You're full of shit. You do not care about what's going on over here, but watching us self-destruct.
Moderate the number of times you laugh about it or want to joke about it or want to abuse someone like Danny Finkelstein, who's written incredibly powerful books about what happened to his extended family at the hands of the Nazis and your other hero, Stalin. See, my point to you, Nick Fuentes, is that in parts of this interview, you try to come across as moderate, but every now and again, the mask slips. And it slipped again here with what you say about Hitler. There's nothing very fucking cool about Hitler. We know that from history now. We know what he did. You've already conceded that he murdered at least 6 million Jews. So when you say he's very fucking cool, Jewish people watch this and go, this guy's disgusting. Why would he say this about someone who perpetrated such an evil? And what's the real answer? Why do you? Is it just for clicks? Is it for money? Is it just for fun? For shits and giggles? What is it? What motivates you to say something like Hitler was very fucking cool?
It's for this. It's for all of this. And the lack of self-awareness is amazing. You're a boomer. You're a 60-year-old boomer. And we've spent maybe 3 minutes on you saying, he's a really fucking monster. He incinerated people. This. And I'm sitting here saying it's not that serious. It's not that deep. And
not that
what
serious.
I'm getting at.
Not that serious.
Do you want to say more about he's a monster?
You're not kids yourself anymore. You're not a teenager.
So he was so heartbroken about the lady that got attacked on the train, and that's why he hate all the black people and want to stay away from black people. But the Holocaust is not that bad. That's literally what he gonna say. It like he bring up 2 incidents that happened over here that made his whole outlook on being around black people and us is so terrible. But he's cool with the millions of people that dude just told you how his whole family was abbreviated, and he like, who the hell is this talking to me? But he's cool with that, but he wasn't cool with a lady that got attacked by a mentally ill person. He's cool with school shootings because of the demographic that Hollywood, but he's not cool with like make it make sense. But y'all say he's speaking the truth. That's cool. I wish you believed that, but okay.
I know.
Right, you're nearly 30, to be clear.
Yeah,
okay, you're a fully formed adult who has a brain, right? And at some stage, that brain is taking you off these rabbit
Is this an
warrens.
interview or is this a lecture? Can I respond to what you're saying?
I want you to explain why you think it's fine to say how fucking cool Hitler is and to dismiss the very powerful 90 seconds from a British journalist who lost a lot of family members to the Nazis in such a callous, dismissive manner.
I don't think it's powerful. I think we've been hearing that our entire lives. Okay, the Schindler's List. Let's just be honest. The propaganda is over the top. We have been brought in America.
What about
and
the Schindler's
everywhere.
List?
Hey,
tell me about the Schindler's List. Well, tell me about.
So why we don't face, I will admit it, why we don't face the truth that most S crimes are committed by your demographic, if you're even really, all right, let's talk about that. Why we don't address that? Why it ain't safe for your children to be around you? If we want to go off of these numbers and what he said, why is that not safe? Why are y'all manufacturing almost 90% of that type of stuff and are convicted at the highest rates of it? Let's talk about that if we want to talk truth. Hot Rod 76. Let's talk about that. You know what I mean? You don't want to talk about those numbers, so let's be here. Let's listen to and show respect.
About the Schindler's List.
I'll tell you about it. We have been browbeaten as a people, as Americans, as Westerners, for our entire lives. And do you know what this has done? It has taken away any sense of pride, any sense of love for our own civilization. We have been made the villain in our own story. We have been made because, well, let's just be clear. It doesn't begin and end with Hitler is a monster. This has been the political narrative, which is why we have thrown open the borders. This is a political narrative, which is why we can't be a conservative society as a whole anymore, why we can't be proud of Europeans, why we can't be proud of being Christian, because they've told us if you're too white and too proud and too Christian, it's going to lead to a Holocaust. And so my generation, our entire lives.
Honestly, Nick Fuentes,
that's why people like me. That's why I'm popular, because this is bullshit.
Honestly,
yeah, it's a crock of shit. We don't want to hear anymore about me mum and me dad.
Listen, what you just said is a crock of shit. And you
It's
know
true.
it.
It's
And
called the open society.
In your gut, you know it is. You weaponize
No,
this stuff.
you know.
You weaponize this stuff for money, but you know when you say something like what you
I'm
just
banned
said.
from banking.
You
I'm
know
banned
it-
from banking and credit cards. You know what you're talking to? I do it for money.
and by the way-
How much money you
and by
make?
the
Your
way,
company's
that
worth $100 million.
shouldn't-
Your company's worth $100 million. I was banned from Bank of America.
And you
I'm
shouldn't have
banned from
been.
processing credit cards.
And you shouldn't have been.
But I am. So don't tell me I'm doing it for money.
Well, ask me my opinion about that. I'll tell you shouldn't have been. Right? I don't agree with that. What happened to
Then
you?
don't say I'm doing it for money, because you know that full well, and you say it's a
How much
grift.
money- how much
if I
money
wanted
are
to be
you-
a grifter, I'd be like you. And
How
I
much
would
money
go
are-
and say,
How much money are you making?
I'm making a lot of money now,
Yeah.
now that I'm the #1 live streamer in America, because people agree with me more than they agree with you. We're tired of hearing about slavery and the Holocaust and Jim Crow. We're done hearing about that. You guys
Yeah, I'm not
overplayed
done
your
hearing
hand.
about that.
Okay, well, your generation's on the way out, and Generation Z is coming up, and we're finished with that. We're ready to take our country back.
I've got 3
We're not
sons.
listening to
I've got
crime
3
minorities
sons.
anymore.
I've got 3 sons, and they don't share your views about
Yeah, well.
slavery and about the Holocaust. They can have decency and compassion and humanity.
I agree with him, but he talking all that shit. He said, take the country back. Let's be for real. This little coward Kermit the Frog looking incel ain't taking nothing back from nobody, bro. He's a child that just spewed hatred and trying to recruit other children to feel this shit. And the biggest problem they ever had was their goddamn Wi-Fi not working, or they get their cell phone taken away from them. They don't even know what real struggle is. And then the face of white America, the person, this shit that's trying to be the face, is not even 100% white. He's goddamn Mexican.
About some of the worst things that have happened in the last 150 years or more.
Sound like girls.
Nothing wrong with being Mexican. What I'm trying to say is he hates himself. He's a self-hating motherfucker.
They can do that, and they can also have concerned views about issues like immigration and other issues. The two things are not mutually incompatible. You can have different views about different things. It's your lack of humanity and compassion for people about things like the Holocaust, about slavery. It's that people find so contemptible. And I don't understand why you need to do that. Again, I just ask you, is your motivation financial? Is your motivation for fun? What is the motivation for saying these outlandish things, which you don't need to say, and which I suspect, I don't know, I suspect a lot of it is performative. So what is the motivation?
I'm an iconoclast. The Holocaust is not my religion, and it is treated like a religion. It is treated like a religion with dogma.
What is the bullshit that they being fed? Talk about that. What are they being fed? The lie that if they come around a black person that they gonna be attacked. The lie that the jobs are getting taken away from them. The jobs that they don't even qualify for. What is it being fed? A lot of shit being fed to black, white, and in between in this country is this hatred to pull us apart instead of looking at what's in front of. We up here fighting about this bullshit. Gas prices soaring. Food costs is soaring. Everything done jumped. Energy costs is at all-time high. Water bills is crazy. Like all of our utilities done fucking one up. But yet we're sitting here arguing with a 27-year-old virgin that don't know shit about nothing in life. And y'all sitting here. And then even looking at my chat, like I appreciate all of y'all that's over here, but most of the people are not even here in America. And this is the outlook that they're spewing to y'all that don't deal with American black young men to make you think that you're going to go somewhere and get fucking attacked. And that's not going to happen. These people don't even come in the areas that that this is happening at. He's looking at shit on the news and acting like that's area, but he's being quiet about a white man drove his truck into a fucking church of white people and started pew-pewing everybody and set it on fire. Why he's not talking about that? Why is he not talking about that?
With blasphemy laws, and that secular religion says, and you say that's a crock of shit. It's intentional. It's called the Open Society by Karl Popper. It's by these architects of the liberal order after World War II. They got together and they said, how can we make sure that Hitler never happens? How can we make sure that totalitarianism never happens again? And they came up with a consensus, which is that we need to take down nations, religions, fathers, the authoritarian personality. We need to be empathetic and altruistic. We need to be diverse and pluralistic. And that experiment isn't working. And I'll tell you the truth right now, and you can laugh at this, you can scoff at this, our people are being genocided in our country. 50% of the live births in the United Kingdom and in the United States are non-white. In 100 years,
I've been to Chicago. I even did boot camp in Chicago. Got friends from Chicago. You go to Chicago. I'm not scared to go anywhere. I go everywhere, and I go by my damn self. I'm not scared to go around people. Everybody's talking about go to Chicago, go to Chicago, go to Chicago. First of all, I'm a registered owner. And second of all, like, I live here. My neighborhood is very fucking nice. I live around like a multicultural, multi-racial area. My neighborhood's very fucking nice. I've been all these places. Y'all worrying about Chicago. It is 49 other states, and we have U.S. territories too, but y'all always use Chicago. What about the rest of the world? What if I go around these other places that predominantly, you know, the other color, and children are getting touched? Why y'all don't talk about that? You know? So, like, y'all makes no sense. And then if you're not even in America, why the fuck do you care about Chicago? You know?
My ancestors, your kids who are so empathetic and compassionate, they're going to be a minority. They're going to be a minority in maybe a Muslim country, an Indian country, an Hispanic country, and these Jewish people.
And that's what they scared of. He's scared that some shit that it would take thousands of years to happen in America for white people to be the minority. And they scared that they might be treated the way they treat people. You see, when he talking about this shit, he's real fucking hyped up. He wasn't hyped up a few minutes ago.
People that are 100 years old talking about my grandparents and the Holocaust. They don't care about that. Actually, they like to see it. At the SPLC, they're literally counting down the days until whites are a minority in America. So forgive me if I don't believe them when they talk about compassion. There's a genocide going on right now. It's not against the Jews.
How many Christians are there?
In Gaza, it's against
How many
whites.
Christians are there in the world? Let me
1 point.
The crime is in poor neighborhoods, white poor neighborhoods, black poor neighborhoods. Do you think rich black people or middle class, the upper middle class black people or white people or just the upper the middle class in America is committing crimes? It's high crimes in them areas. The crazy shit is I'm pretty sure you're not even making the money that you pretending and you probably live in a shitty ass area.
Some billion,
yeah,
2 billion.
How many Jews are there?
15 million.
Okay. So with a straight face, you're going to tell me the world is being overrun by the Jewry, by 15 million people, when there are over 1 billion Christians. There is a genocide of Christians like poor old Nick Fuentes going on at the hands of these 15 million Jews. Really?
See, this attitude is why you're losing. When you say
who am I losing
white
to?
people,
Who am I losing to?
White people.
Who am I losing to?
You're seeing it. Mass migration. You're losing to me. We are losing as a civilization of mass migration. And here's the difference. In Israel, they have my politics. In Israel, they want to maintain a Jewish majority. If they had it their way, it would only be Jewish people. They're fighting like hell so that Jewish people can have as much territory, a Jewish state. They can be proudly Jewish in their own land. Whereas in America, we are being besieged by 10 million illegal immigrants in 4 years. And then whites and Christians are going to be the minority. And that's true in Canada, Australia, all the countries in Europe. So you could say there's 2 billion people, but what's the proportionality? What is the percentage of people being born that are white? Where's the arrow pointing? Where are we going to be in 50 years? In 50 years, there might be an Israel. In 50 years, there isn't going to be a white Christendom.
You don't believe people should get married, right?
I think people should get married. I'm a Christian.
But you're basically anti-marriage, really. You've talked about this. You've talked about.
Are we done talking about white genocide?
Well, I'm coming to the same part because you seem very resistant to the idea of marriage. You've never got married. You've talked very scathingly about henpecked husbands. Just take a look.
That's true.
Guys get to a certain age and they're like, you know what? Women suck. Like, they're talking too much. They're not hot anymore. Like, you're fat, you're chubby.
This is the part I wanted to get to, because this is y'all leader that tell y'all about women, and now he's about to tell y'all how he really feel about women.
You're not as hot as you think you are. You fucking talk too much. You're a bitch.
So we'll obviously get to the brazen misogyny part of that a little later, but I'm just curious. On the one hand, there's this terrible genocide going on of white people. On the other hand, you want people effectively to stop going near women because they all turn out to be so ghastly, so they shouldn't presumably procreate. So how does that work? I mean, aren't you, with your rhetoric, actively encouraging men not to associate with these ghastly women, therefore not have any more children? Therefore, you are contributing, Nick Fuentes, to the diminishing white population. I'm confused.
I tell my followers to get married all the time. I tell them that it's best for everybody to get married. And I think that's the only way that you can have sex. I think that's the only licit way as a Catholic is, to have sex is within marriage.
Why don't you get married?
I'll get married later. It's been difficult for me because people are shooting at me at my house. I don't know that I don't want to have kids and a wife. You know, my wife would be screaming about that. Me, you know, I have to be able to take risks and be able to say these things. It's difficult to bring a family into a life that's like that. But for my followers, I tell them to get married. But what's happening with women?
You literally just told your followers, hang on, in that clip, you literally told followers, women, they get old, they get fat, they get ugly, they get very annoying. So where's the incentive to get married to women? There isn't one. You're actively telling them
you're extrapolating a lot.
Just quoting you back yourself again.
No, but you're extrapolating and saying, well, you say women are annoying, so therefore, what's the incentive? We have to do it in spite of the fact that they are annoying. We have to do it in spite of the fact that they talk too much. We can get them to lose weight. We can put them on peptides. We can get them to the promised land, but it's going to be.
Do you think this view of women may be why none of them want to go near you?
Oh, you should see my DMs. It is quite the opposite. They're called the Groy Bets, and I'm actually batting them away. Granted, not all of them are attractive. Some of them are attractive.
Are you actually? Just to clear up one of the many theories about you, I have no idea what the answer is, and you haven't got to answer. But are you actually attracted to women?
I am attracted to women.
You're not gay?
No. But I will say that women are very difficult to be around.
Okay.
So there's that.
And do you think they should have the right to vote?
I do not know.
He's not gay, but he finds it very difficult to be around women. That's peculiar.
Absolutely not.
They should stay at home?
Well, yeah, absolutely.
So basically, you're just a misogynist old dinosaur, aren't you? For a young guy.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I'm the boomer. I know I'm the boomer here, but actually, you're a 27-year-old dinosaur, aren't you? Aren't you, Nick Fuentes? All women.
I am.
All women are annoying. All women grow old. They all get fat. Says the guy. Have you ever had sex?
No, absolutely not.
Wow. Says the guy who's never got laid.
That's the thing, though. You boomers, it's
Do you think
always
you're an
get
expert in
laid,
women,
free love.
given you've never got laid?
Yeah, we are going back to the Stone Age. You're absolutely right. This, you're talking about empathy and your kids are empathetic and they would never laugh at a joke about the Holocaust and you're a misogynist. You're a simp yourself. You're totally henpecked. That's the problem. So
Let me play
another
clip of yours about women.
A lot of women want to be raped. And when I say raped, I mean like, that sounds bad when I say it like that. But there's like a lot of women that really
fantasies about it. I don't think that they want to actually get raped. But there's a study out there. Get ready for this. It says 62% of women have rape fantasies. And if you read anything that they're reading, if you watched what they're watching, what do you think 50 Shades of Grey is about? What do you think Twilight is about? I mean, that's just true.
You think women want to...
Is that why it's so heavily disproportionate in that community? I had to mute
They would never laugh at a joke about the Holocaust and you're a but it's true.
Do you think your views on women might change if you actually ever had a relationship with one or had sex and actually had a proper relationship?
a lot of women want to be raped.
But it's true.
Do you think your views on women might change if you actually ever had a relationship with one or had sex and actually had a proper relationship? I mean, people say the reason you're so angry about women is you're basically an incel.
Well, I'm not angry about it.
You sound very angry. You sound very, very angry about women. They get
I'm passionate. It's an issue I'm passionate about.
You're sounding very bitter about women, as if women have done a terrible disservice to you. But when you don't have relationships, you don't have sex, when are they doing these terrible things to you that's made you so hateful towards women? I'm really curious.
Was that? I don't think that was a hateful clip. I think I was laughing. I said they want men to beat the shit out of them, and that's just true. I mean, when you look at the state of modern women, all they do is.
No women want that bullshit, but this is the type of stuff that I said. He speak this shit, and the younger generation hear him, and they think that's the thing to do. That's cool, and that's when nobody wants to be abused. Ain't nothing cool about abusing no fucking woman. Ain't nothing cool. Like, I ain't never meet a woman that tell me I like to get that type of stuff happening to me. That shit is ridiculous. But this is, y'all talk about he spit facts, he spit the truth. What truth is in that? The women that's in here that's sitting back, tell me, do y'all think that shit is true? That you want to get this us beat out of you? Come on now.
Lay in their bed, doom scroll, they're chilling out. They're getting a little fat. It is what it is. I don't know what the average weight is, but they're getting a little heavy. And any guy that is playing the field these days will tell you that. I mean, and I know a lot of the Chads. I am an incel. I'm friends with a lot of Chads, like Bradley Martin, Clavicular. They agree with me. You know, there's sort of like this alliance between the guys that don't have sex and the guys that get the most sex. We know what women are about. It's the guys in the middle. Guys like you in the middle. It's the beta male orbiters that say, she's amazing, you're a misogynistic pig. Because I don't know what that is. I guess
well, let me explain to you what I think it is. I think when a 27-year-old guy who's never got laid, never had a meaningful relationship with a woman, says that women shouldn't be allowed to vote, they should stay at home, that all they do is fantasize about being raped and being beaten up, that's what they want, that they're annoying, that they get fat, that they get ugly. That's a misogynist. Now, you may not understand it because your knowledge of women is so incredibly tiny.
I ain't gonna lie, old boy, you got some serious issues too that you think that shit is cool. Nobody, them women are not sitting around. Maybe that's the women of your demographic that you be around in that trailer park, but nah, that's not a thing, bro.
But actually, you are the...
They be having dreams of getting dominated by the same black men they don't like. Let's talk about that. And then the crazy part is they husbands pay to watch their wife get satisfied too, because, you know, but y'all listening to a version that ain't never been in a relationship that admit that he's an incel that does mad suspect shit. Y'all listen to him give you advice on women and what women like, and he don't have a woman, don't be around women. He said he finds it extremely hard to even be around women. So how he know what their fantasies is or anything when he don't know how to interact with a woman? Do that fucking make sense?
embodiment of a misogynist. It couldn't be clearer. And if I was, in a way, you have the deep-rooted misogyny of some of the actual boomers I know. Yeah, here you are, 27 years old. And most of the current studies show that a lot of men are really disenfranchised from society, no longer have physical relationships with women if they've ever had them, never associate with women, and build up instinctively misogynist views about women. And I fear you're in that position. You're just a bit of a lonely guy who wants to get laid and can't for whatever reason. And it's made you bitter about women. And I don't know where that's come from, but it's fascinating.
No, see, here's the thing. First of all, you're very caught up in the labels. It's always, you're a racist, you're a misogynist.
You said you were a racist.
Nothing to me. Oh, hang on, can I respond?
You gave yourself the label.
What is this?
You said, I am a racist. I didn't give you the label. Okay. You said, Fuentes, I am a racist.
Calm down. Calm down.
Did you or didn't you?
It's okay.
Did you?
Yeah.
Okay.
But
so I didn't give you the label. You did.
Why are you yelling at me?
Because you're trying to infer something that didn't happen. You said, I gave you the label of being a racist. No, you did. You said, I'm a racist. You gave yourself the label.
You're going to have to tone it down a little, all right? You're going to have to bring it down a notch and relax. This is just an interview, okay? Please calm down. All I said is you're hung up. I didn't say you gave me that. Maybe I did.
You did.
But here's what I mean. What I mean is you're just hung up on proving you're a misogynist. Okay, you're a racist. Okay, you denied the Holocaust. And I'm not about the labels, man. I'm just past that.
As I said to you, look, Nick, I just wanted to go.
Only people I ever heard that say I don't like labels be people that's, into that alternative life. Well, I can't even say alternative. That's into that lifestyle, but they don't want to come fully out and admit that they into. Most of you hear like women that's into that lifestyle on the low, them DL women, they say they not into labels. He's saying all the signs of somebody that's, into that shit, which, I mean, if he is, yeah. I mean, he probably lose some of his supporters, We look at him as that shit anyway, so it don't matter. Yeah, but I'm about to kick you out of my chat. I ain't with none of that fucking SA shit, bro.
Go over the stuff that everyone uses out there about you and get you to respond. And we are getting, I think, a long way in this interview. Right?
Okay.
You didn't deny the Holocaust. You accepted there's been a Holocaust of at least 6 million Jews.
I'm a maximalist. I'm a Holocaust.
That is significant. You did admit you're a racist, and you have spelled out a thought process about women, which is the purest definition of misogyny that I've ever seen. And you said you're not gay. So we're getting somewhere.
Yeah. Well, look, and I own the labels, okay? But I just don't care that much about that.
That's fine.
I feel like the whole,
I'm not saying
this is like a weird...
I'm not saying you have to care. Nick, you don't have to care about any of it. I promise you. Right? That's not why I got you on the show. I wanted to give you a fair crack, which I think I have. We've gone over a lot of stuff. We've got a bit more to go on. I genuinely don't think I've ambushed you with anything you couldn't have been expecting.
No.
I don't think I've been overtly hostile. In fact, when you've asked me to calm down, I've calmed down. I don't want to have a hostile, angry, shouty match with you. I simply want you to spell out exactly what you've meant about all these things, and people can then be the judge of them. So let's take another break, and we'll come back and talk about Donald Trump, Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, and others. Christmas is peak time for online shopping sprees, but that also means it's peak time for hackers and data brokers. But you've grown increasingly disillusioned, I think it'd be fair to say. Let's play a recent clip from you about Trump.
We played this game in the first term. We're 10 years in. And you still have these people, I hate to say it, but they're just like in denial. And they're like, okay, everybody, let's all go on Twitter and let's tell Trump, don't screw over your voters. Okay. Hey, Trump, don't hire John Ratcliffe in the CIA. Like, what are we doing? We lost. It's over. The time to make demands was during the election when he needed the votes. He's a lame duck president. He doesn't need anything from us. He's not even on Twitter. He's on Truth Social. So what are you talking about? We're going to all rally and tell him, don't hire yet another neocon?
Now, over the weekend, you posted this on X. You said performative cruelty is the perfect phrase to characterize the Trump admin and the mood of the MAGA movement. In order to compensate for his compromises and failures, Trump has to fall back on mean-spiritedness to appeal to the basest instincts of its followers. It's really sad. I mean, do you think you're the best person, Nick Fuentes, to lecture people about performative cruelty?
Why? Are you accusing me of being cruel? Is that what that is?
Yeah.
How am I cruel?
You're cruel about black people. You're cruel about women. I mean, you're cruel about a lot of people, and you're very performative.
Okay. I don't think I'm performative. If anything, everyone else is performative. I'm authentic. Whatever you want to say about me, it's real. It's from the gut. But yes, I do think it's performative. And what I mean by that is, when they're doing the deportations, they know the deportations are not where the base wants them to be. They deported, the figures are disputed, but from my data, it's 300,000 in the year, which is not a massive deportation. They know the base is unhappy with that. So what do? The deportations that they are carrying out, they do a big spectacle and they arrest everybody and they film it and they put a hype at it. And there's a meanness in there. They played that song. I think from Sabrina Carpenter or something, and they make it a joke. They make it glib, and they do that because they're not delivering on the promise, so they compensate by doing it meaner, edgier, more mean-spirited, so that the base will overlook the fact that it's not happening. And I think that's by definition performative cruelty. You can call me a hypocrite, but it's definitely true about what they're doing in the administration. You
went to see Trump at Mar-a-Lago with Ye for dinner. What was that like?
It was very interesting. They're my two heroes. Ye is my hero. Trump is my hero. Even though he's very disappointing, I still have a personal hero of mine. And he's a remarkable person. It was a great conversation. We got along pretty well. He liked me. I liked him. It was a love fest.
I mean, he got attacked afterwards for supping with the white supremacist devil. I mean, do you accept you are a white supremacist?
No, absolutely not.
You don't think white people are superior to black people?
No, I'm a Christian, so I believe everybody is equal before God.
Including women?
Yes.
So you give women equal rights then?
No.
Great.
No.
Great. Okay, so you just talked a little bullshit, didn't you?
No. Why are you like mad about this? No.
You want women to be
are
treated
different.
equally before God, but you don't want to give them equal rights.
Yeah, because women
Okay,
and men
that's
are
fine.
different.
Look,
Do
it's
you
your
believe there are
view.
two genders?
It's your view.
Do you think there's two genders?
I do think there are two genders, yes.
Okay, and so you mean there's distinction. There are two distinct genders.
I think we should all have the same rights to...
Well, if they're meaningfully distinct, biologically distinct, and they have different social and biological roles, I think it would follow that we would treat them a little bit differently in the law.
Do you think the Catholic Church's teachings reflect that?
I do. Yeah, there's no female priests. Have you ever seen that?
Do you think that the Catholic Church thinks all women should be deprived of the vote?
Yeah, I think so.
No, they don't.
I think they do, yeah.
You think the Catholic Church position is women shouldn't be allowed to vote?
I think so, yeah,
No,
but I'm not positive.
No, it's bullshit.
Oh, it should be.
It should be. So if you were Pope, that's what you do. You could be Pope because you're celibate.
That's true. And I'm also from Chicago, like the Pope. But look,
Right.
I mean, women, it says in the Bible that
Holy
women have no
shit.
authority over men, and they can't teach men, and that's why there's no female priests.
There's a lot of
So I
things in
don't
the
think
Bible.
Catholic-
I mean, do you think every word of the Bible is sacrosanct?
Well, yeah, it's inspired scripture.
That's all of
But I
it
mean,
is
is this now
all of it is
a
sacrosanct.
theological debate? Well, it is Catholic doctrine that women should not lead and teach. I mean, you're not interacting with what I'm saying. Why can't women be priests?
There should be.
Okay, well, you're not Catholic. That's not a Catholic
I am a
position.
Catholic. Many things I disagree with the Catholic Church.
Okay. Well, that kind of is contrary because the whole basis
really?
of being Catholic is
No.
accepting.
You
Yes,
can be,
it's
you can
accepting
be
the
a member.
authority of the pontiff.
You can be a member of a religion and disagree with parts of that religion. Perfectly reasonable.
You could be. Well, yeah. I mean, you could say
Unless you're an
that, but it wouldn't be
extremist.
true.
If you're an extremist, you can't.
Okay.
Obviously, you never deviate.
That's just not rigorous.
You never
That's just
deviate if you're an
sloppy.
extremist. But even the
just
Constitution,
sloppy.
even the Constitution's been amended. Was it 27 times? People talk about this sacrosanct document. It's
Oh
like
my-
it's been amended
Oh
27
my
times.
goodness.
Yeah.
Oh my. This is not rigorous intellectually. This is very.
Just,
This is
just a statement of
tabloid
fact.
theology. Okay, but it's fine. Where were we? We're talking about Trump,
Let me-
and somehow we got
on
into
Trump,
you're
no,
white
on
knighting
Trump-
for women's rights.
On Trump, well, I think women should have the same rights as you and I. You don't. That's fine.
Put on the pink hat, bro. Put on the pink hat. We're waiting.
What's the pink hat for?
For the march, for the women's march? Are we going to see you at the women's march protesting for women's rights and all that?
I think women should have equal rights to men. Period.
You carry tampons in case your female friends get a period or something? Like, it's crazy.
I'd have no
knighting
problem,
is
I'd have no problem
diabolical.
giving a female friend a tampon. Would you? Have you ever? I don't suppose you've ever seen a tampon, have you?
Gross. Absolutely not.
You
Get that away
think
from me.
tampons are gross?
Yeah, they're
Really?
filled with period blood. Yeah, it's kind of gross.
Wow.
Are you into that? You like that? You
Have you ever
got
seen
a lot of tampons?
I don't think you've ever seen it, have you?
I've seen them. I've
Oh,
seen
you
them
have?
before.
You've been that close
Yeah.
to a woman? Really?
No, I've seen them. Look, I
You've seen
I
videos?
used to live with women, so I've seen them around the
I bet
house.
you've seen videos, haven't you?
What? What are we doing here, Piers?
I'm not
you
sure.
really hate that.
I'm not sure,
You're
mate.
more impressed that I'm a misogynist than you are about anything. It's
Not
very
really.
revealing.
I'm actually more exercised about your blatant, self-admitted racism than I'm about
I see.
anything. But the misogyny runs a close second. Let me ask you about Tucker Carlson, because you had a long sit-down with Tucker Carlson, in which he was, oddly, I like Tucker, we got on well, I was with him last week in London, but he gave me a harder time than he gives you. And then afterwards, he was more critical. And then you said this about Tucker.
He's a handler. He handles people. That's what he does. He's a fucking liar and a handler. He goes around telling people, I don't know anything. I don't know. Oh, I know nothing. I don't even have a phone. I am just a clueless tourist. I just travel to all these countries and, I don't trust him. And I don't care, maybe that alienates me from people in the conservative movement. I don't care. I'm not going to be a part of it. I'm not going to be a party to whatever that is. Whatever that CIA bullshit is, I'm not going to be a part of it. So, now that I've heard enough from Tucker and I've heard enough from other people and I've seen enough, this guy's not who he says he is, not an ally. Stay the fuck away from me. You're weird, dude. You're weird.
See, what would have been great is if you said that to him when you were sitting opposite him.
Well, when I was sitting opposite him at the dinner and in the interview, he was nothing but nice. He was very nice to me and very cordial, and he didn't call me an anti-Semite, and he didn't even press me on it at all. And I thought he would, and I almost wanted him to. He was nothing but nice, and we had a great time. We had a really great dinner, really great interview, and I felt really good about it. And the next week on my show, I said, he really surprised me. He's great. And then every interview he's done since, all he does is call me an anti-Semite. He goes, well, I hate his anti-Semitism, and, I wonder why people like him. And so I just think that's two-faced. So after that experience, it kind of turned me off. I didn't like that, but he's going to do what he's going to do. He's still a nice guy, but I think he's two-faced.
What about Candace Owens? You had a sit down with her. She called you out on a few of your more incendiary comments. You've been attacking her quite virulently recently. What's going on there?
Well, it's me and her. We're so complicated. We're on and off. It's very passionate on both sides. I think there's this intense desire to be friends, but a frustration where we disagree with each other. There's a rivalry. But I thought we were going to have a friendly conversation, and then she kind of did the same thing. We're going to go on a show during the war with Iran. We're literally in the middle of a war. And she texted me the day before the United States bombed Fort O. And she said, would you like to come on my show? I said, absolutely. I said, is this going to be about Iran? She goes, I don't do setups. I said, yeah, let's do it. I come on the show, and then she's like got this weird hostile demeanor. She's doing the clip thing. Then she puts it behind a paywall. It was ridiculous. So that really was not nice. And then I think this whole Charlie Kirk thing, I think she's gone insane. I think she's absolutely lost her mind. So I feel sorry for her husband.
What did you feel when Charlie Kirk was assassinated? Where were you when you heard about it?
I was at my house, and a friend of mine who was actually at the event texted me and said, Charlie got shot. I said, who? He said, Charlie Kirk. I said, oh my gosh, that's terrible. And honestly, it was devastating. I didn't like Charlie Kirk at all. And we had an intense rivalry, and he hated me. But honest to God, I was devastated. I was emotionally affected by it. I didn't even do a show that night because I was beside myself. So it was rough. I mean, it was hard to watch.
When you say you were beside yourself, I mean, you hated him.
I don't hate anybody. I didn't hate him, but I really didn't like him. I intensely disliked him. And
he called you vermin, didn't he?
He did. Yeah, he hated me also.
But you were still beside yourself when you heard what happened to him.
I was. I thought it was disgusting what was done to him, and it was tragic, and it was horrifying. Do
you fear an attack like that on yourself? Have you upped your own security because of this? Because your profile's got exponentially higher since what happened to Charlie Kirk.
I have increased my security, and but something similar like that happened to me. Someone came to my house with a gun about a year ago, almost exactly, trying to kill me, and he was shot and killed in my alleyway. So I've had increased security for a while. It's a bad time out there, and I do believe it was a left-wing person that killed him. I think it was a left-wing person that tried to kill me. So yeah, I take it very seriously.
Elon Musk said on his X platform that you're a Fed, that you're a paid-up hire of the government. Is that true?
No.
See that?
100. You've never worked for the government in any capacity.
I've never talked to federal law enforcement. And actually, I've testified to that fact under oath when I was subpoenaed by the Congress. People leave that part out. But I got subpoenaed, I think, in January 2022, I think it was. And I was deposed by the subcommittee, the House Select Subcommittee on January 6th. And they asked me, did you speak with any federal law enforcement? And under oath, I said, no, I've never had contact with them. I've never turned over devices. So no, absolutely not.
There's been footage that's come out again this week. This is you at the January the 6th riots. Let's take a look.
It appears we are taking the Capitol.
Look at all these peaceful protesters, these peaceful people that they just be hanging out places and people just bother them for no reason.
Be marching and don't relax, never relax. Break down the barriers and disregard the police. This Capitol belongs to us. No! The police are evacuating the Capitol. Politicians don't relax. Story out of the people's house.
You're heard there shouting down your loud hailer, break down the barriers and disregard the police. The Capitol belongs to us now. What did you mean by that?
I think it's pretty self-explanatory. The Capitol belongs to the people.
Disregard the police. So you don't support law and order?
No, I support law and order, but on that day...
He only support law and order when it comes to Chicago, to Chicago inner city, not when he's out there at the Capitol, That's the only time he supported.
The police were brutal. The police killed somebody, Ashley Babbitt. And, they were throwing people off of the rafters. They killed multiple people. So
when disregarding the police is the first step to anarchy, isn't it?
Well, I think the first step to anarchy is when the government rigs the election, which is what happened. That is when the government loses its legitimacy, and its enforcers, consequently, do also.
Well,
that's exactly what happened in 2020.
There was no evidence the government rigged the election. You know that. You're a bright guy.
Well, let's talk about it. You want to talk about the election of 2020?
Yeah, I think Trump lost it fair and square. I think he fought the wrong argument about the stolen election. I've said to him, to his face,
I agree.
The argument he should have said is that the deliberate suppression of things like the Hunter Biden laptop scandal from the media, by social media, by big tech, was actually a deliberate attempt to subvert the result of the election. And that's a much better argument because it's undeniable. When the New York Post that had that exclusive were basically shadow banned off all social media for the 2 weeks before the election, that was an absolute disgrace. And if I was Donald Trump, I would focus on that as being my main argument that election was slanted against him. When he goes off into saying that there was widespread rigging and voter systems were wrong, we've litigated all this now through various court cases. Various Republican judges have ruled there was no rigging of that kind. In fact, the American election system is accepted by most people around the world as being one of the best in the world, one of the most reliable. So I just think he fought the wrong argument. If he said the deliberate suppression of damaging stories to the Bidens, which could have swung the election, was outrageous and unacceptable, I'm 100% behind him. But by building this spurious argument that it was all rigged through voting systems and so on, he lost me.
Well, I agree about the voting systems, but, when they went into the machines, I think that was ridiculous. However, what has to be accounted for is that in 2016, 35% of the votes were cast by mail. By 2020, it was 70% because of the pandemic. So you doubled the amount of votes that happened by mail. They called it in-person early voting. They called it a variety of different things. And the other thing that they changed is they solicited the mail-in ballots. So they sent ballots to people's houses. And once you do that, I mean, you have absentee balloting normally, but it's a process. You got to give your social security number, your ID. They send it to you. There's regulations in place. This is an election where they double the amount of mail-in votes, and they sent ballots to people's houses. And when you do that, you break the chain of custody. So they send the ballot out, and then they tell people return it at a 24-hour ballot drop site that's unsupervised. There's thousands of them, and they're going to hope that all the ballots that find their way into these drop boxes were filled out by the person that the ballot was intended for. And I know that didn't happen. I'll tell you why. My uncle has been dead for 26 years. He got a ballot in 2020. It was mailed to my parents' house. And you know that was happening in nursing homes. You know that was happening in apartment buildings.
But you also know that every independent body that has looked at this has concluded there was no widespread rigging, that it was a free and fair election, and Trump lost. And the bottom line is he should stop going on about it anyway, because he won back the White House in 2024. By your,
okay, well,
as you have been so keen to tell me, move on, right? No one wants to look back too far.
That's a separate argument. I mean, you can say that he should stop talking about it, but whether it was rigged or not is actually relevant to what happened on January 6th, because what happened on J6 is people were outraged about it.
People was outraged because they fucking lost fair and square. They lost. Only reason why I think they believe it was so rigged, because it was probably rigged for him to win in the first place.
About it. People were furious that, by the way, there's never been an independent ballot audit in all the states where there was alleged to be rigging. That has not happened. And certainly it did not happen up until January 6th. And people said, this is ridiculous. They're stealing it. You know,
no, if people, honestly, if either you or Donald Trump or anybody else wants to show me, I said this to him when I interviewed him last, you know, if you show me the actual hardcore, incontrovertible evidence, then great. I've never seen it. Joe Rogan asked him. He didn't produce it with Joe Rogan. It's just never been produced. But look, I don't want to label the point on that. So I suppose the more interesting question now, as your...
His face, that boy under pressure, he start following hard. He under pressure, man.
Influence rises in the conservative movement in America, and there's a lot of splits going on amongst MAGA over a number of issues. And about you, and you know this, is your split with Trump irrevocable? Do you feel now, as we head towards the year of the midterms, that it's time to now look at who his successor will be, and who do you think that person should be?
Well, it's not irrevocable, but I am very pessimistic about this administration. And succession is something that I've been interested in for as long as I've been doing this show. And I think it's very clear that they are grooming J.D. Vance to be that successor. And by they, I mean Elon Musk, Tucker Carlson, Peter Thiel. There seems to be an organization that was put in place roughly around 2022 when Peter Thiel was very active in the midterm elections. He spent, I think, over $30 million, $15 million for Vance, $15 million for Masters, spent a lot of money in a lot of other congressional races, trying to unseat the Republicans that voted for impeachment in 21, and also building out a media market, building out a patronage network, funding things like Passage Press, Sovereign House, a number of other projects to create sort of like a self-contained media ecosystem. And Vance is clearly the selected nominee. That is who the interests want. And they've been pushing for him very strongly. So I think he's the heir apparent right now. There's a forceful push. I've heard good things about him. I've heard bad things about him too. And where I think it needs to go is I think we need to return to the message from 2016, what Trump said in the first election, which is we need to drain the swamp. We need to get the money out of politics, the super PACs, the special interests, put America first in foreign policy and the wars, close the border and deport the illegals, and reindustrialize America, bring back manufacturing, bring back jobs. We're in this Cold War with China. We need America to have productive capacity again. We need America to have wealth. So I think whoever is going to bring us back to that, that's who I'm going to support. And I haven't seen enough from Vance yet.
You called J.D. Vance's wife a Jeet. What does that mean?
It's a slur for Indians.
Why would you use that?
Well, you want the honest answer?
Because you're a racist?
No. There's actually a different reason. The reason why I said that, if you watched the whole show, did you watch?
You're a racist. That's the reason why you said it.
That whole show about
but you've admitted you use that slur. I'm just curious why you would use that about a woman with her heritage.
I'll tell you, there's a really important reason why, and this is why context matters. If you look online at the people that are supporting J.D. Vance the most, they are racist. They're racist also, let's say. And they look at someone like myself. I don't support J.D. Vance. And they say, you're brown. You're a third worldist. They are gleefully participating in the cruelty. You could say the performative cruelty of the Trump administration. They say, you're going back. You have 100 days until you're being deported. You're going in a crystal. And then they tell us to vote for J.D. Vance. And so all I did on the show is I said, you have basically racist chuds that post memes about Indians all day on Twitter, memes about third worldists and Palestinians even. But then they want to turn around and support a guy who has said on Twitter, how dare you say I'm racist? I have non-white kids and I'm in an interracial marriage. And all I said is I just said that's a little ironic. I said that's hypocritical. And Vance is going to have to explain to all of his supporters who have gassed him up as the real mass deportation candidate. He's going to have to explain to them what's going on with that. What is with the contradiction? Because
and you don't feel any accountability for the millions of young people that will hear you use that slur and think it's fine to use it?
No, I think that's ridiculous.
Okay. Let's take a final break. I come back with a little kind of summary of how you think this interview has gone for you. Okay. If you're a fan of epic fantasy, Arthurian legend, or just epic storytelling, I have torn apart by warring factions and standing on the brink of a new era with the rise of Christianity. Daily Wire Plus All Access members get the first 2 full episodes on Christmas Day. Not a teaser, not a sneak peek. Episodes 1 and 2 a full month before anybody else. So if you want to go ahead with the story, now's the time to join. And with the sale happening right now, you can get 50% off members.
Sort of anticipated that you would make some choices about how you wanted it to go, and I was fine with it. So I thought it was terrific.
As a Catholic, you're probably aware that Jerusalem
sort of anticipated
torn apart by warring factions and standing on the brink of a new era with the rise of Christianity. Daily Wire Plus All Access members get the first 2 full episodes on Christmas Day. Not a teaser, not a sneak peek. Episodes 1 and 2 a full month before anybody else. So if you want to go ahead with the story, now's the time to join. And with the sale happening right now, you can get 50% off memberships, including the All Access plan. The Pendragon Cycle Rise of the Merlin premieres on January the 22nd, but All Access members can start watching on Christmas morning. Head to dailywireplus.com so you don't miss out. Okay, next Fuentes, we've been talking for nearly 2 hours. What is your view of how the interview has gone?
I think it was great. Honestly, I think it was a tough interview. You're a tough interviewer, but I don't think there were surprises. I will not say it was an ambush because it wasn't. I sort of anticipated that you would make some choices about how you wanted it to go, and I was fine with it. So I thought it was terrific.
As a Catholic, you're probably aware the Jerusalem Post has recently called on the Pope to openly condemn you. Would it matter to you if the Pope did? He's an American Pope, obviously.
It would be very disheartening, yes.
Why are they even paying him attention?
Because he's our spiritual leader. He's the head of the church. He's the vicar of Christ. So if he condemned me, that would be very disheartening. And it would depend upon what he would say exactly. But yeah, I wouldn't like that. I wouldn't like that at all.
If he condemned you because you've openly admitted to being a racist on this show?
Oh, this racist. I would be disappointed if he said that, because I think that word racist, it means something different to everybody. And so I think that's just silly. I think that's just semantic.
I don't know what they mean by it means something different to everybody. I don't. I think that's a forced statement. I think we all know what a racist is.
Have you ever been in love in your life?
Yeah, with a man.
No, like romantically, no.
Yeah, never.
No.
You don't think that's part of the problem?
What's the problem?
Why you are the way you are.
Oh, and what's the way I am? What are you trying to say?
I've given people 2 hours of the way you are. You're unashamed about a lot of it.
I don't think I have a problem. I think I'm cheerful, boisterous. Look, unlike you, I'm willing to be a little provocative. Well, I guess you're willing to be provocative, but I'm willing to be very provocative, and I'm a free thinker. And I don't like to be tone policed. I don't like to be told about, people are going to tone police and play moral.
He's not a free thinker of all you think is one way and all you think is condemned. But I kind of see where Piers is going at, Meg. Maybe if he had some love shown in his life, he could see things from a different perspective because he'd have something to actually care about, He don't have shit to care about. He don't have no woman. He don't have no children. I think he's into women. He is a self-admitting incel. And yeah.
Cop about you can't make this joke or you can't make this statement. And I think that's just about being intellectually open. I'm a believer in openness.
I completely agree. I think you should be perfectly free to express yourself exactly how you see fit. My problem is how you see fit with some of the things that you say. And we've been through a lot of them. And I think people who don't know you very well will have been shocked in parts and surprised in other parts. But in totality, they can see you for what you are. I think we've got a lot nearer to what the real Nick Fuentes is in the last 2 hours than we probably have seen from your other recent interviews. Would you agree?
No, I mean, the clip thing, we've done the clip thing. We've all seen the clip show. Everyone's seen the clips. You think you're the first one to do the ADL rap sheet. So here you said this, and then here you said that. I've been playing that game for 10 years. So this is honestly more of the same, to tell you the truth.
Nick Fuentes, I appreciate you coming on Uncensored. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Well, my thanks to Nick Fuentes, and my thanks to the hundreds of thousands of you watching this special live episode of Piers Morgan Uncensored. As I said during the interview, I think it was firm but fair, but you can all
Yeah, I think that's his problem is he ain't experienced like true love besides probably from his parents and shit. You never hear his sister come out and talk in his behalf or really back him up. And right now, all the attention he's getting is from other people that he's spilling the hate for, like that he can gas them up and somebody putting some money behind him to get him in these platforms, to get him to these places. And so he could be able to take care of himself. Because if he was banned from these banks and all that shit, how he even had the opportunity to take care of himself. I know he was on Rumble doing some numbers, but he spit this stuff because he contradicts it. I hate being around black people. I love being around Kanye West. I hate being around black people. I kind of like Candace Owen, like he picking and choosing, but he also know that his base and his bread and butter is spreading this hatred, And things ain't going like I said, he toned down some of that shit a lot. So he was checked by something or someone on how his what he been putting out on certain communities. So definitely I noticed a difference in this joint. Even when certain topics was brought up, he definitely had a different, outlook and a calmer approach and try to rail around it a little. Let's see what the Young Turk said, how they felt about this interview. Next time you watch a live event, which one would you most like? It won't be the WNBA, I'll tell you that.
Piers Morgan had Nick Fuentes on after flirting with the idea for weeks, and it was definitely more contentious than how Tucker Carlson, or quite frankly, anyone else handled an interview with Nick Fuentes. Cenk, what are your 2 cents? What are you expecting?
Look, I mean, we haven't had Fuentes on either, but this whole not talking to each other is silly. So do I like that Piers Morgan had him on? Sure. Let's have that conversation. Let's expose the ideas we don't agree with, which we're going to talk about here. We're allowed to agree with people who generally we are very much in disagreement with on other issues. Let's just have that conversation. So let's watch these clips here and have an adult talk about it.
So Fuentes gets a lot of attention for his comments and his takes on U.S. support for Israel, and they did get into that discussion about halfway through the nearly 2-hour-long interview. But since everyone's going to be focusing on that, and we have covered that before in other contexts, I wanted to focus on other elements of this conversation that I thought were interesting and somewhat surprising. So Piers Morgan began the interview by reciting what Fuentes said about his own father and whether his father's views of the world have contributed to Fuentes' worldview. Let's take a look.
You talked about your father, Bill Fuentes, and how he wouldn't take the family, including you, to certain restaurants because he believed they were associated with African Americans. We would be deciding where to go to eat, you said. What are we going to do for dinner tonight? It was a running joke. Me and my sister would say Applebee's, and my dad would say we would never eat at Applebee's. Not in a million years should you be caught dead, Fuentes said about Applebee's. Go to a different restaurant, a local restaurant. No Applebee's, no Red Lobster. That is commonly known as black fare. Do you think you grew up in...
Ozzy, I'm back. I had to get some things in order with the channel before I wanted to stream again, but now I got everything popping again. I'm about to start going at least, 3 times a week, 3-4 times a week, different topics. Got an email saying that they wanted me to go through this Nick Fuentes joint. So, I'm about back on, man. What's good with you, man? Let them know we back in business, man. We back on the scene. How you doing? What you been up to?
In a racist environment, that your father was inherently racist, and that thought process moved to you?
Well, I would say it's a new low. I've been attacked for being a racist many times, but to attack my father, to attack my parents based on anecdotes, I would say that's sort of a new low.
Hang on, it's your anecdote.
Yeah, but he's not here to defend himself.
You are. It's a reasonable question.
Yeah, no, like I said, I think everybody knows what that is, but I'll address it. I'll engage with it and I'll defend my father from the charge of racism.
Sure.
No, my parents are not racist, and they've never been racist. I'll tell you about my parents. They used to have a school in Chicago in the South Loop where they instructed people on how to shoot firearms. It was a security school, and most of the clients were black.
So he's going to answer a little more.
Thank you. I'm glad to be back, brother. I'm glad to see you in here too. Hopefully A and Angel pop up in here too. I'm about to call it a nap though. I got to be to work in the morning. I'll probably give it another 15 minutes before I go get ready. It's already, I got to be up by 5. It's already 1:15 in the morning.
Or in the next clip, but I wanted to show Piers Morgan's question and ask you, Cenk, whether you think that was a fair question to ask of Nick Fuentes.
Look, I wouldn't have gone in that direction. I think it's superfluous. I don't really care what his dad thinks. On the other hand, I'm also not outraged by the question. So what? Answer the question, right? And he did.
Mm-hmm.
Look, here's an anecdote I've told on the show, and then let's decide if that's racist, right? So they mentioned Red Lobster. Look, I don't know that Red Lobster is particularly black. I don't know what that means, right? But I have talked. First of all, Red Lobster has excellent cheese biscuits, and you should go.
No, Red Lobster is delicious. No, hold on.
Yeah.
Look, that is. I'm offended by the notion that you shouldn't eat it. Like, we're not at all, sponsored by Red Lobster. This is an organic plug, I guess. I love Red Lobster. It is delicious.
Yeah, but I've kidded around about. Sometimes I'll go to a diner or a restaurant, and if I see either cops or black people there, I think nailed it because they actually
the food's gonna be good.
The food's gonna be good, right?
Oh yeah.
So, but that's a funny little anecdote. It doesn't mean that I'm racist.
He calling us black and cops. He's telling us that we fat. Yeah, dude said that because we black, we like to eat. My anecdotic, what I do when I go to a restaurant, if I don't see fat people eating there, I don't want that shit, bro. I better see them come to get some takeout. Yeah, but like if I go to a restaurant, that's what I look for. I look for the reviews. I want to hear that real life people that eat like good, that I know they look like they can eat, that they eat at there. If they don't eat there, then I'm not I'm not really trying to go there. Like I want the big bags.
This is against white people and non-cops. So that's why, like, this is a little bit of a waste of time. We should get to Nick Fuentes' opinions. I don't mean us, I mean Piers starting with that. It seems needlessly hostile.
I agree. I think opening with a question about Nick Fuentes' dad is kind of weird, especially considering the fact that Nick Fuentes streams for hours on end each day. And if you want to, actually focus on what Nick Fuentes himself has said about his own views, that would be more interesting. But nonetheless, he did answer the question. Let's go to his answer and then we'll move on.
What my parents would say if they were here is that for many, many years, the older generations of black people were very respectful, very humble, very decent. In fact, my grandma used to have an anecdote. She grew up in a lot of dysfunction. Her mother was mentally ill, and they would be having dinner in the projects, and there'd be so much chaos and dysfunction and disagreement and fighting. And she would look across the way out the window at a black family in the other apartment, and they'd be holding hands around the table saying grace. And this is sort of the culture that used to prevail. But now what you have in the city is that there's no accountability for the black people. And now Chicago has become a complete dump because these teenagers go out and they take over the city. They call them teen takeovers. That's the euphemism for it. They're teenagers, but they all come from the same neighborhood. They drive up there and they mug people and attack people and they destroy cars and destroy shops.
Okay, so that now we're starting to get into the territory of what Nick Fuentes actually thinks about the black community, and he's going to weigh in on that a lot more in upcoming clips. Including, I think, one of the most devastating clips that Piers Morgan played of Nick Fuentes in one of his rants. But before we get to that, Cenk, what are your thoughts on how he answered that?
Yeah, look, I feel like we're constantly stuck in the middle in this way. So are there crime issues in some of the bigger cities? Yeah. By the way, crime's gotten much better in the last year and a half or so. But if you want to address that, no problem. If you want to make it racial, what's the point? What does it solve? Right? So are there issues that affect people in lower socioeconomic classes that affect both blacks, whites, Latinos the same? Yes. And blaming on one particular race is not that helpful at all. And there he was talking about what was wrong with his own culture, and then he strips to what's now wrong with black culture. But I don't think those are the issue at all. I think class is the issue in that particular case. And so I think he's misdiagnosing the problem pretty significantly.
Yeah. Okay. So with that in mind, let's actually just go to the next clip because this is the one that, caught my attention the most.
They're always coming up with, no, it's not the Jews. No, it's not women. No, it's not blacks. It's actually really complicated. No, it isn't at all. Jews are running society. Women need to shut the up. Blacks need to be imprisoned for the most part. And we would live in paradise. It's that simple.
He do say some wild shit like that. Appreciate you showing some love. Hopefully you subscribe to the channel. Strive, like, comment. I appreciate you. Hit that subscribe button. Let's finish. Yeah, he's bugging, man. He act like only ones that commit any type of crime, but it is what it is, man.
Okay. Would you like to clarify what you meant there?
That's all true. That's 100% true. Everything I said in that clip is true.
Including that blacks need to be imprisoned for the most part?
Yeah. Yes.
Well, all of them?
No, for the most part.
What does the most part mean? What percentage of American blacks would you like to see in prison?
Whatever the percentages of the murderers. I think it's 1 in 20 black men will commit a murder in their lifetime. So maybe let's say that, 5%.
Oh, so you're talking about black people who murder people?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
But you didn't say that. You just said blacks need to be imprisoned for the most part. You didn't clarify that you were talking about black murderers.
Right.
Okay, so he's going, now they're about to debate actual, per capita homicide numbers broken down by race. And they're actually both wrong. So stay tuned for that. But I mean, he just owns it, right? So he listens to that video of himself, not just going after black people, going after women, going after, various groups of people based on their identity, essentially lumping them all together as, a stereotype. And when he has an opportunity to say, no, there's more context on that, or no, let me explain what I meant, he just kind of owned it. So this is the thing about Fuentes and then his supporters as well. Because whenever you just say what he says he is, right? When he says that he's an anti-Semite, or when he says, that he thinks, most black people should be imprisoned, and then he has an opportunity to clarify whether he actually believes it, and he says, yeah, I believe it, and doubles down. Why do you guys get upset with people who clearly just repeat what Nick Fuentes says of himself?
Yeah, that's the part I don't understand, Anna. I feel like both Fuentes and his supporters kind of have to make up their mind.
Yeah.
Are you guys avowedly and excitedly racist, sexist, et cetera, or are you not, right? And I don't mind either. You just tell me. But so that clip of Fuentes is by definition racist and sexist, right? And those are terms we don't like here. There's way too many identity politics being played, and it's usually distract you from the great American robbery where the donors are robbing you blind. But what is that? I mean, if you're saying arrest black murderers, why are you even putting the qualifier black? Why don't we arrest all murderers, right? So, but you didn't say that in the beginning. In fact, Piers almost bailed him out there. No, he said imprison a great percentage of black people. So now, if you're in that camp, do you think black people are going to agree with you?
I agree with him. Nobody think murder is good. So yeah, people that do commit the crime should be held accountable. But to say majority of black people be like, but I mean the murder. No, you say shit for you want to sensationalize that black people are supposed to be criminals and now it's all murderers and shit, but you're not trying to, like, you want people to just hear that clip. That's the problem.
It's absurd, right? Do you think women, 51% of the country, are going to agree that they should all shut up? So then, like, it's okay, you have whatever you have, opinions you have, it's a free country, right? But then don't come and say, like, pretend you're the victims. And like, I can't believe anybody called me sexist when I said all women should shut up.
So yeah, look, obviously the idea that most Black people should be in prison is disgusting, and I disagree with it wholeheartedly. The point that Fuentes, I think, is trying to make is that when it comes to homicides, the perpetrators who carry that out are unfortunately disproportionately Black. And it's an uncomfortable statistic to bring up, but both he and Piers Morgan got the numbers wrong. In fact, both he and Piers Morgan thought the numbers were much higher than they really are. So they debate the numbers. You heard Fuentes in that last video say that he thinks that 1 in 10 Black men commit murder. Okay, which is insane.
It's insane.
It is insane. But then Piers Morgan tries to correct him and says that the real number is 1 in 100, which is also insane. So he's misinterpreting numbers. I don't think that Piers Morgan is racist. I just think that he's like misinterpreting the studies and the numbers. So I looked into this, and I think he's referencing a study in JAMA that was actually released in February of this year. The study was conducted by Paula Strassel from the Department of Epidemiology and Biostatistics at the University of Maryland. And here's what the study found. We can put the graph up on the screen, and on the far right side, you have whites represented. In the middle is where you have Black individuals who have carried out homicides represented. Okay, so in the data set that's being studied here is between the year 2000 and 2019, and the homicide rate for Black males ages 15 through 24 was around 74.6 per 100,000 population, or about 1 in 1,340 men in that age group specifically. Now that age group tends to, young men in general tend to be more aggressive, tend to, be more likely to act violently, right? So that's why you see that age group.
I agree, because they fucking stupid. When you 14 to 24, you don't understand consequences and shit, and you more inclined to make dumb decisions because you think you're invincible, you think the world revolves around you, and you don't realize that you're going to be an adult way longer than you're going to be a child, and they feel they could do some dumb stuff and then still come home and still be young,
group, overrepresented even within the various demographics or identities we're talking about here. And then there are years where the numbers are even worse, reaching as high as 101.5 per 100,000 in 2023. For Black males aged 24 to 44, the rate was around 70 per 100,000. And then keep in mind that the researcher isn't just relying on like raw numbers here, right? Putting this in a per capita perspective helps you kind of understand what the realities are in terms of which demographics are more likely to carry out this particular crime, which happens to be homicide and murder. So those are just the facts. I'm not making anything up, and I'm basing this on a study that was.
So he said 1 out of 5. They saying that it's really the highest they showed. It was 70 out of 100,000. 70 out of 100,000. That's your per capita for you.
Was published just this year.
Yeah, look, when you have at worst case scenario 1 out of 1,340, and you say it's majority instead, which implies 600-700, right? No, that's not right. It's just not factually correct. And yeah, that is what leads to racism. So look, I've used this analogy before because Turks are such a rando ethnicity here in America that it helps clarify things. So do Turks in Germany have a higher crime rate than Turks in America? Yes. Why? Does it have anything to do with them being Turkish? No, because more day laborers, blue collar guys go to Germany from Turkey because they can drive there. And so they're lower socioeconomic status. Turks in America happen to be pretty well off. So the crime rate is like nearly non-existent. So this is a socioeconomic issue, and you see it playing out across all the races here in America as well. So on the one hand, sometimes people deny the numbers, and that's not helpful, right? So are you going to get a higher percentage of?
That's what I was telling y'all earlier, that if you're poor, you're more inclined to commit crimes. If you're making money or have a livable wage, most middle class, the upper middle class is not committing crimes. They're not going out there stealing and shit. If you're poor, you're more inclined to do stuff out of survival, and you're in the worst neighborhood. Most people, Black, white, or in between, see some money, they move into a better neighborhood,
Per capita of African Americans that commit more crime here in America? Yes. Why is that? Because of socioeconomic conditions. And one last rando Turkish one. Tell the story of near the Syrian border in Turkey where my parents grew up. An explosion of crime happened. Why? Because there's these absurd laws about tariffs, and they made a lot of money by ignoring the tariffs and doing smuggling across the border. Why did they do it? Because they were all poor. It wasn't like, oh my God, some breakout of immorality happened near the Syrian border. No, these are just normal things that happen in life, and you shouldn't ignore them. And you should also figure out what the real causes are instead of just blaming people in a blanket way. One last thing, when it comes to Israel, same thing. The media will say, no, there are no donors that favor Israel. But that's not true at all. Of course there are. And they give hundreds of millions of dollars and they say that doesn't affect politicians. That's absurd. Of course it affects politicians. Does that mean all Jews are part of a global scheme? No, most Jews, the overwhelming majority of Jewish Americans have normal jobs and normal lives and have nothing to do with Israel or the IDF or anything like that. So that's why these generalizations based on the wrong characteristics and focusing on the wrong traits of people doesn't help at all. Sometimes you'll identify the right problem and have a very wrong solution.
Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our life.
Yeah, I mean, I'm about to go to bed, but I do agree with they saying as far as, social economics really actually the biggest factor in that. But I appreciate everybody that tuned in, everybody who stopped by, said what up, all my old people, we back in business. I'll be back on. Watch out for that. I'm gonna try to send out notifications a little earlier, a little sooner before I jump right back on this thing. But any suggestions, just hit me up and we could go over that next year. But one thing I would say the biggest problem is and anybody who been there, I believe a lot of this stuff is to distract us and to give us something to look down upon and to argue back while the rich get richer and the poor get poorer, So next topic we're gonna come out with, like I said, y'all got any suggestions, leave it in the comments after this and shit. I do my research and we'll get back on there. And y'all know my new wave of bringing the facts is having my conversations with Chat GPT where we could all hear it and we take it there like, hey, Chat GPT.
Hey there, I'm here and ready to help. What's on your mind?
Oh, wow, you sound like you echoing. But hey, I'm about to end this stream. I want to know, do you want to say anything to the audience before we call it a night?
Absolutely. Thanks everyone for tuning in and hanging out with us. It's been a blast answering your questions and digging into the facts together. Hope you all have a great night and see you next time.
Y'all heard what Little Mo said. Have a good night. See you next time, man. Peace. Put up your comments before I go.